Ooh.
All right.
Checking.
And we are live.
Can I get a C?
C
O
O
N
N
S
S
I S
S
T
T
E N C Y.
Consistency.
I'm going to edit this out.
Why?
That's more fun. It's more fun this way.
This is episode 20. What's going on, guys?
Yo,
Hello.
cheers to the big 2-0,
Yes.
fellas. Yo, Celsius, hit us up.
Welcome to the stream, everyone. Hello, hello.
Dude, what if we actually got sponsored by Celsius? That would
We
be lit.
actually probably could. We probably should start recording ourselves at the gym and lifting and just being like after every set, and we just product placement. There you go. We got the Bees Heat
This
AA.
is good.
Every
Arctic
pump
Vibe.
I
needs
like
a
this one.
Celsius.
It's
It's
a
the
new
exact same
flavor?
thing as Blue Raz. They just call it Arctic Vibe.
Is it really?
Yeah, exact same thing.
Oh, wow. It's yummy.
It's
I've
just
been
there's a
hacked.
different. It's the same flavoring, but it's a different formula. That's what it is.
marketing too strong.
No BCAAs.
Hello.
Well, what's up, guys?
Yes, hi.
Today's
Greetings.
April 14th. It's a Thursday, episode 20.
He's one step closer to 30.
I am. Thanks for.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Now we can see ourselves multiple times.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Brian, Eddie, Crescendo. My goodness.
We got Crescendo in the chat. Yo, what's going on, Estuardo? My man.
Estuardo. Yo, this
What a
sushi's
guy.
on fire.
Yo, can we? So I actually heard about this new restaurant called Sushi Ninja.
Oh my God, here
Oh
we
my
go.
gosh. The
The
thing
kids
that
say
binds us
it's
all.
flame. Super flame.
It is. They're opening up a new restaurant.
Yeah, they just opened up another one because I was
heard
talking to Vita.
I heard
Number
the
14, I
kiosks
think.
aren't that good.
So the one on Chickasaw is pretty solid. I never had any issues. I think Schmeckens just likes to talk shit.
Just throw them under the bus for
I'm
this
pretty,
stream.
I'm pretty sure that's what it
Bro,
is.
they don't run the kitchen like I used to. Like, shit.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
All right, yeah. So good stuff. So what?
I recognize that's a lot of inside banter. Sorry.
Yeah, a lot of inside banter, but that's okay.
People probably saying like, "What the fuck is going on?"
So, what the fuck is going on today? So we got some Heat jersey stuff.
popping off. Yes,
yes.
we do. We
Bit
got
of
the
a
NBA
different podcast
NBA
today.
playoffs starting soon. Baseball started up. I don't know anything about football. Don't ask me about football.
Oh, I got you.
Oh, we got the football. man
yo,
right here.
that's right. That's right.
No, I'm kidding. Don't ask me anything, please.
Mr. EA.
Please
over
don't
here.
ask me anything. I
don't
just
worry.
make everything look cute.
Oh, once the draft, you should know this, right?
yeah,
yeah,
it's
you
at the,
should.
It's at the end. The 27th, the 28th.
27. So
27th,
we're
yeah.
gonna figure out that date. I know that falls on a Thursday. You said.
Yeah, so I will be
Yeah,
working
you're gonna
late
be working
that day.
late.
So we'll probably record on maybe
Tuesday?
Tuesday, yeah, we can figure out. We'll
Probably
let you guys know
Tuesday,
for
yeah.
sure.
Oh, man.
But to everybody who's here, yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining again. We're also simultaneously streaming on YouTube now, so
Yes.
go check us
Shout
out
out
there.
YouTube. Finally, I have like 7 or 8 episodes just sitting on my hard drive. I'll be honest. I'm probably never gonna get around to putting them up, but I will eventually.
We got the VODs going up, so we'll just once we upload the VODs,
I really need to put them up there.
we'll just edit it so like it just kind of starts like right there.
Also, something very exciting that will be posted tomorrow. And
Similar
you're just
to
gonna
that.
see our faces almost everywhere.
Hell yeah.
Oh, nice. Cool, cool,
Teaser. We only
Did we
talk
say
about
10
this.
grand or 1 grand? I forget.
Cool. I don't.
I mean,
I think it was
cut the mics
1
really
grand.
quick
I think
now?
we could start. We could start with 1.
I think it was 1
And then we
grand.
could.
I think
we
it was
could-
1 grand.
We can always work our way up. We can't go back. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Anyway, personal updates.
Yeah, I started last time, so somebody else wants
I
to
can
start.
start
you
this
can go
time.
first.
Yeah. So personal updates. This is my 3rd week at EA. It's been super great. Very, very inclusive workspace. Everyone's been super nice and helpful, getting me used to kind of getting me up to speed with the skill set that I need in order to kind of do my job.
Are you fully integrated yet? Are you in all the systems?
Yes, for sure.
So
like
you're done with
today,
onboarding.
honestly, today was probably like every single day I say this, but with each day that passes, I feel more efficacy and like the ability to do the job. Like, we were doing, well, I can't talk about specifics, but essentially there's content that's being worked on and it was being presented and there were things that were happening that needed to get worked on. And as things were like, hey, this needs to get worked on, this needs to get worked on, I was able to immediately go like, okay, I could just go in here and fix this up like this. And because I understand like this is in here and I could do this to fix this and I could do this to fix this. And things were starting to click. And even like Ryan kind of gave me like a little bit of a pop quiz and I was able to answer him. So it's nice. It's nice.
You'll notice now that he has like a cash flow income, you're gonna see his shirts get tighter and tighter
yes.
as we continue on with the podcast. So.
How big I am directly correlates to how much money I have in the bank. Oh man,
Oh, Jesus.
I actually got on a scale for the first time. I guess this is continuing with personal updates. I got on the scale for the first time in a while, and I'm like 180 pounds.
Yeah, dude, you weigh more than me now.
I don't know how I just ended up bulking, and I'm like beefier now. But
You pretty much nonstop eat now.
yeah, for the most part. But that was because I was in a.
It was a rough 3 weeks.
It was a
or
rough
3
3 months for sure.
Yeah.
I was. Yeah, caffeine and Adderall is not a good mix. But we'll.
Whoa.
Hey man.
Hey man. To be fair though, so I don't get the thing about Adderall personally.
I do.
It does not make me focus more.
Really?
It's specific. Yeah, it works differently for different people because I know there's
Yeah,
different like
Definitely not for me.
formulas the way they work.
Oh yeah, there's a different.
Well, we took the same pillow is the thing. Like when I had the prescription, it was the same dosage as him. Like there was a short and
we're like the same body type too. So I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I mean, I would imagine that
Well, it
they would have
certainly
similar.
sounds like, hey, if you're trying to find out information about COVID-19, this is not the place. Don't listen to us.
Absolutely not.
Get this from somewhere else.
But yeah, the podcast is a fan. I could be open about it. But yeah, I'm in a better place now, obviously. And then obviously, been working out, work out something really solid. And yeah, just keep on the grind, learning at EA. I want to kind of actualize my contract into a full-time position, but just trying to work as absolutely hard as I can so I can get that
soon,
going.
young grasshopper.
step at a
Very
time,
soon.
for sure.
Very
Yes.
soon.
3 weeks in, I want a full-time job.
Well, I mean, you got to shoot
Hey,
for
man,
the
no, absolutely.
shoot for the
That's the
stars, hit
energy
the
you
moon.
need,
You
for
know,
sure.
so
Absolutely.
like, I don't want to coast. I don't want just like it was explained to me by one of the higher ups. It's like you could technically just do the bare minimum, and that will be enough for your
Yeah.
contract, right?
Some folks do that too.
And some folks do that. That's not what I want to do at all. I've already been very vocal. We'll talk a little bit more because one of the main topics today is about kind of game design thingies or game industry things. But
Just getting into the industry.
there's something
What's that
called
like?
a subject matter expert where you get very good at designing one specific piece of the game. And in certain aspects that can make you very vital, but then the production of whatever you're working on, it kind of your skill set becomes a roadblock because if you're not there and you're the only guy who
Who knows how to do that.
exactly.
I can only build players.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
that sucks.
yeah,
He's out
so-
today. What do we do?
we can't build any players. So I've been very vocal about the fact that I don't want to be a subject matter expert, at least at this point. I want to have an in-depth knowledge with as much of the game as possible.
Like a jack of all trades, sort of.
Kind of. But I mean, like, jack of all trades in this scenario is actually, at least from my understanding, positive. Because
No, I never think that that's a negative term at all.
Yeah, you become interchangeable, which is what they need.
Well, on the opposite end, like, again, we'll expand upon more about this, but personally, my education in game design was very jack of all trades. And I don't think that that's if I could do it all over again, knowing what I know now, I don't think that that's the move. From like a undergrad perspective, there's drawbacks, and again, we'll get into it, but whatever. But I'm doing great, guys. I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here with all you beautiful people. Thanks for listening, and I'll kick it off. Who wants to take it? Who wants
Robert
to take it?
ASMR, beautiful people.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's Robbie C here in the morning with my cup of Joe.
Quiet Storm with Robbie C. You want to go? You want me to go?
Doesn't matter.
I'll go. Just so we can go down the line. So this last week I went to New York.
Woo.
So if you remember last week when we recorded Tuesday?
For the
Tuesday,
B-Day, we
for
turned
Tina.
28?
29.
29?
29, yeah.
Hey! 30s
Last-
is the new 20s.
Somebody, I forgot who it was. I think it was one of my older cousins. She's like, your 30s is like your 20s, but you have much more money. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about. That's the kind of energy.
Yeah,
I
but
need.
no,
Do we
your,
agree
your
people in
hairline
chat-
starts to recede. You start to have body pain, joint pain. There's some drawbacks, but
That's what you use the money for. You get
right.
plugs, and then you go to the doctor.
I'm just being realistic about it.
There you go.
But no, trip was awesome. I went to New York. The whole flight situation, getting there and coming back, was a little stressful. I literally woke up the morning of, and that day kind of sucked. Like Thursday was my birthday, the 7th. So like I woke up that morning. I woke up like super early because my flight was at like 7 a.m. My flight ended up getting canceled, so I had to fly into Newark. I was originally flying to JFK. I was kind of talking to them about it. If you guys know
Jersey.
like the kind of city area, it's just outside of the city, so people always say it's a better airport to fly into. But
JFK?
Newark.
Oh, Newark.
Newark. But the only thing is that I kind of had everything set up to fly into JFK. Like I had a rental car out of there and, to return to JFK. So then I had to pick one up and I had to like make a brand new reservation like immediately that morning to pick up in Newark. And then I had to return it to JFK and they wanted to charge me more. And it was this mess. On the way back, I ended up waiting in like the airport for like it was something like, I think I was there for like 10 hours or something like that. I got there early just to try and be early because, I don't know if you guys know with like airlines and everything right now, it's insane, especially with like Easter coming up this weekend too. It's probably going to be even more crazier. But and then my flight just kept getting delayed. Like I was originally supposed to fly like at 9:30, then they moved it to 10:30, then they moved it to 11:30, then 1:30, and then they moved it to 5:30 in the morning. And at that point, I was like, all right, this is OD. Like this is ridiculous. Like. So I went to the gate and I'm trying to talk to the guy. I'm like, listen, like if you're gonna cancel a flight, I need you to let me know now because
They're essentially holding you hostage at the airport, right?
it's not. Yeah, exactly.
Like if you want to
like,
go home, you have to be here, and it's like, okay, well, you've already delayed it like 7 times.
and if I leave, I have to go back through TSA, and then that's a whole nother
fuck
thing.
that.
And so it was pretty ridiculous. I ended up finally flying out. I didn't even get up. I didn't get into Florida until like 4:30 a.m. It was pretty ridiculous.
No, that's actually pretty rough. Yeah.
But I mean, well, originally when I was supposed to get in, I was supposed to get in at like 10:30, 11:30. So coming in at 4:30, like it was ridiculous. I had to catch a ride and like having to rely on other people, like that sucked. But I mean, overall, the entire weekend, it was a blast. If there's anything I learned like over my 20s, it's that like you just kind of live in the moment. Everything is like very based on perspective, and if you have a positive outlook on certain things, like you're gonna have the best of it. So I tried to do that. I had another interview actually yesterday. The last one that I had didn't go through. I didn't get the job, unfortunately. I actually found out on my birthday too. It's like literally my flight was canceled. I finally land in New York. It's like rainy and pouring and it's cold. And then I get an email as soon as I land. It's like, thanks, but no thanks.
God's plan. That job sucked. That job would have sucked.
God's plan.
But then I had another one yesterday. This one was with Orlando Health instead of Advent Health. So it was pretty much the same thing. Hopefully that goes well. Obviously, I'll keep you guys updated. But no, man, I had a blast. It was great just kind of going there, just getting away for the weekend, making some memories.
Bro, they had New York Yankees beer. They had like
Pinstripe Pills. It was actually made by Blue Point. If you guys know, like that's a brewing company.
Do they have no brim hats at the stadium?
Yankee with no brim.
They didn't. They
No?
didn't.
Ah.
No. But there was a guy there. There's a video. There's like a picture too. There's a guy who was there, and he was like wearing a Red Sox jersey and wearing like a Mets hat. And people are like, "You chose violence today." Like going to Yankee Stadium wearing like a Red Sox jersey. First of all, you got balls. But then to do that, it's like you are a certain kind of crazy.
Which is a better franchise historically?
Well, I'm going to be biased by saying this, but the Yankees are the most winningest franchise in all of
So they're
baseball.
like the Lakers and they're like the Celtics.
They are, yeah, I guess you could say that in a sense. There was a curse where like Boston didn't win for I think 86 years. It was like the Babe Ruth curse. They call it like the curse of the Bambino. And then they ended up finally winning in like the mid 2000s. But the Yankees have 27 world championships. I think the second place is the Cardinals, and they have 11. So
So the Red Sox are nowhere near.
the Red Sox, I want to say, have like 8. Maybe,
Okay, so they're mid.
I think. But you got to remember, like this is going back to like the 1900s. Like back in like the like early days of the 1900s. Well, we're kind of getting into like tangent on like sports. We're kind of going to talk about sports a little bit later. But
Yeah.
honestly, no, man, it was great. I had a blast. It was kind of shitty coming back and like being like, man, I got to go back to like reality, normal life. But you know what? It's always cool to like work towards these things. Go out there, have a good time, and then come back, kind of reset, refresh, get back into the grind of things, and then look towards the next one. So, but yeah, man, it was fun. I had a blast.
That's
And,
good, man. Probably had like a nice, good like mental reset whenever you had like a
Absolutely,
really good
yeah, for sure,
vacation.
definitely. Just kind of being on your own, just away from home, and really just I had family up there. I saw some family too, so I made the best of it. So,
That post vacation second win hits.
yeah, it's good. It is like just like a refresh, like you said. Just kind of like really just mentally resetting and everything. So, but yeah, just excited to go forward now. We're on episode 20. That's hype.
That's huge.
That's hype with what's
That
the
is-
hype.
oh, we're coming up on a year real fast.
We really are. When do we start? September, October?
August.
Yeah, last week of August.
It was the last week of August, and the episode went up in like September.
Yeah. So I mean, we're quickly approaching that. But yeah, that's about it for me. What about
All right,
you,
so let's do a
amigo?
brutally honest personal update. So I did interview at Turn 10. So it's a big one.
Ooh, Turn 10, if you guys don't know, is
It's with Forza.
Forza,
Yeah.
yep.
Obviously you talked about it with some folks, and everyone in my job is aware. It's not like an unheard of thing to do, right?
Right.
Sometimes you just kind of want to see what's out there.
I mean, yeah, always trying to advance your career.
It's also a good way to kind of gauge income too, and like what everyone's buying and what everyone's selling for, all that kind of good stuff. So, and it's funny too. The only reason I ended up applying was because there was a You good?
Yeah, it was like blocking you guys. I wasn't.
okay.
I know. I'm always
okay.
like looking through your eyes, see like the gap.
Yeah, so I was we were talking about GT7, and then that game made me want to play Forza, and I'm just like, God damn, this is such a fun game. And it's just conveniently enough, like 2 days prior to that, they had a position opening, so I was just like, just roll the dice, let's see what happens. So did the interview for that. It was pretty grueling, mostly because it was like hour break, hour.
I forgot
Yeah, that's
about that. You
whack.
sent us the schedule. That's
all
insane.
one day. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. And I know that there were some other folks interviewing for it, so good luck to them. No, I'm honestly not sure how I would feel about it if I got or didn't get it. So it's not necessarily on my mind right now, but it's certainly something that I've been thinking about previously. I think as more days go on, like the effect of like the kind of declines. But anyways, did that. Work is going super well for me right now. We just hit like a really, really big milestone.
Another one?
Yeah, for the. Did I say that last week?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're still riding that. Stocks are going up right now.
There you go. Okay.
And we're still on the come up. It's pretty much just like as soon as we hit that milestone, it's just like here's all this really low hanging fruit, and we can kind of destroy all these things and make like a fuck ton of progress really quickly.
Perfect.
So, yeah, work's been going really well. The new building that EA just put up in downtown Orlando is really fucking nice.
Pups.
That's my pup going crazy right now. There could be people walking outside. There could be a squirrel outside.
Can you say would you say the efficiency overall of like everything has just skyrocketed ever since you went back into the office?
I would say so because,
Or maybe not skyrocketed, but I imagine it's.
I would say that it's
better.
skyrocketed because some of the issues that we had, people that weren't helping with those issues are the ones that solved the issues.
Right.
So it would be like you and I are working in the front of Susai and we're trying to fix this thing, the cash register, and like one of the kitchen dudes comes out and is like, "Oh, I know how to fix that," and fixed it.
Right.
Right. So it's like everyone kind of knows what to do, but regardless, lots of good vibes right now. I'll put it that way. The hair's really long. I got K-pop hair right now. I haven't really cut it since we started the podcast.
Yeah, you were buzzed when you started.
Yeah, I was
right?
buzzed because I was just like, you know what, Robert did it. I want to do it too, and I don't really like
That
it.
was a mistake.
Yeah, you can see the hairline really easily, and it's not really a great look when you're getting close to 30. So we want to grow the hair out.
I feel like if you're like really buff and cut, you could pull it
I
off.
don't even think that, dude.
Well, explain all the celebrities who get like buzzed.
They're celebrities.
You're right. They're
They
pretty.
get paid to look good.
You're
So
good. You're right.
The majority
You're
of those people aren't even natural.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, overall, it's been going pretty well. Bulk Nation kind of his stock went way down, but I'm also okay with that. I've been enjoying doing the podcast with the fellas, working on my career development, and then also I've been in Engine for Unity like a lot more, just getting back on that bicycle and kind of remembering everything. But other than that, it's been going pretty good. Oh, and Derek gets to move up here pretty soon.
Dude, I'm
When
so
is
excited for that.
when does he graduate?
Next month, so in like 2 weeks.
In May.
Yeah.
Nice.
So he's gonna be
Awesome.
vibing with his buddies back in Vero.
With his butt.
Oh.
Yeah, well, vibing with his butt too. So he's gonna be vibing out there with his friends until they all leave. But the majority of them are going to UCF, so it doesn't even matter.
that's dope. Yeah, like you're gonna all come up here.
Oh, bro, he has it set up so good because he's already got like a support system here. He's got
for sure.
role models. Like we can get him a job at Susai if he wants. If not, whatever.
Yeah, it's not like
Yeah.
he needs to get a job.
Yeah, but
I'd
hey,
rather him just focus on
Hey,
school.
you got a job at Susai, and look who you ended up meeting along the way.
Yes, but Susai is not the same anymore.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
The Lees do not have a full family and
Yeah.
9 other restaurants. So
This is true. This is true. But it's cool. I wish going into my freshman year of college, I had like a bunch of people who like freshly got out of college, got into the workforce, could guide me and stuff. Like, for the most part, I feel like we had to feel all that stuff out on our own.
There's a
turned
lot
out
of
fine.
yeah. I was gonna say there's a something to say about going through those things on your own and just kind of figuring out.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
having that experience. But no, yeah, I definitely know what you mean.
I think this is a good segue into one of the main topics for today.
well, I wanted to touch on light news first.
Oh, light news. Well, this is a great segue into some light news.
and then the
Yeah.
career stuff.
Uh-huh.
So, Call of Duty and Godzilla.
So that's official. That's
official?
That's a thing, is it?
So, I mean, IGN posted about it in the video where they post like the very end of it. You can pretty clearly hear Godzilla's roar.
Oh shit!
So, I'm gonna try it. It's funny too because
Is it Warzone or is it Vanguard as well?
I actually don't know. I just know I'm gonna play it. But
Godzilla, I'm fucking in.
the funny thing is that I kind of compare Godzilla movies right now. So back in the 50s when they first had them, And, everyone saw what those were like with the people inside the costume. They had to do like camera tricks to make it look like it was like to scale and like them like destroying buildings and stuff.
Move in slow motion.
And the thing is, the movie that came out in 2014. I want to say Godzilla 2014.
The like remake.
The remake, the reboot of it, the US,
The current reboots of it?
current one.
Yes.
yes.
Yeah,
Okay, it's the one with Wanda.
Yeah.
WandaVision, that girl, one of the Olsen twins.
Emily?
Or no,
Elizabeth?
she's not an Olsen twin. Elizabeth,
Yeah. No, she's the older sister of the Olsen
Mary
twins.
Kate. Is it Elizabeth?
It's Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah, Elizabeth
Okay, so
Olsen.
she was in it with. I'm
Bryan
blanking.
Cranston?
Bryan Cranston was in it, but he
Oh,
was
the
one
girl
of the
from
stars.
the girl from fucking
Elza Gonzalez, Millie Bobby Brown.
Millie Bobby Brown. The girl from
Stranger Things?
No,
Stranger
not
Things.
her. No, I fucking hate her character.
Hold on. I'm
The
looking
main
it up.
character from the first reboot movie in 2014. It was the soldier. That guy.
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
I think it was Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Ken
Watanabe.
Watanabe.
Yeah. But anyways, so that movie pretty much, in my opinion, was the best iteration of what a modern Godzilla movie should be like, because it had such a great human story that coincided with Godzilla still being like the main thing, the main draw, right? So like they don't even show Godzilla till like halfway through the movie.
So he's a good guy in the movie? He's like the protector of the Earth?
He is lawful neutral.
Gotcha.
It's great that the humans help him, but he does not give a fuck about them.
Gotcha.
It just so happens like the enemy of my enemy,
He's like an anti-hero, I guess.
or the enemy
like a
of your enemy is my
vigilante.
enemy, or my friend, whatever the fuck that
Yeah.
is.
So there's other
I fucking-
monsters,
enemy of
and
my
within
enemy is my friend,
within
yeah.
the monster hierarchy, he's like, well, I need to beat all your asses. And the Earth things are just like, well, I mean, it helps us if you beat their asses. So,
Yeah, so
We're gonna
it's,
help
it's
you,
good
yeah.
too because they work with, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the studio that does Godzilla.
I can look it up.
Oh my
Jamie,
God.
look that up.
Yeah, why
Warner
am I blanking
Brothers,
on all this?
Legendaries.
No, the Japanese studio that has everything Godzilla.
Oh, who own it?
Oh,
Yeah, I can't think of what it's called. They just did a collaboration with Magic the Gathering like 2 years ago. As soon as I hear it, I know.
Toho Studios.
Toho Studios.
Ah.
So yeah, they're the ones that worked with the writers to kind of figure out what direction do we want to take Godzilla. So the reason why I'm saying that this is exactly aligned with the way that Derek and I have interpreted it. So you know how like Fast and Furious started out, it's like it's about racing, it's about street
Yeah,
racing,
and now it's like about
crap,
heists
family,
and
yeah.
shit, yeah.
And now it's like they're getting launched to the moon, right?
Yes, the scale has gotten a little wonky.
So in my opinion, the greatest crossover that you could possibly do is Fast and Furious Godzilla. Tell me how hype it would be if like Dominic Toretto with his Charger was driving off the tail of Godzilla or coming up on the mouth of Godzilla as he shoots his atomic breath. And it's how they kill off Dominic Toretto. But instead, there's some DNA that got fused with him as he was dying, getting shot into space. That's how Space Godzilla gets spawned.
And like The Rock is simultaneously driving down Mecha Godzilla and
Yeah.
like dueling Dominic Toretto.
Yeah, exactly. So the reason I say
can see
that
it. I see the vision. I see it.
it's because I think it's so bombastic that
Over the top.
yeah, they would include Godzilla. Firstly, how do you do that? Godzilla is a giant kaiju,
I have no idea.
Could be done.
but dude, tell me if you're in Warzone, like imagine playing Apex and like you just see Godzilla. You know those monsters in Kings Canyon?
Yes.
Imagine that, but it's Godzilla, and you're fucking them up.
So, there's obviously, just thinking about it, Blue Sky thinking about it, then like there's a lot of cool things. Like if it's a Godzilla map and like it's Godzilla actively fighting another monster and that's just the map that's happening, that's really cool. But we'll have to see. I don't have.
No, we don't have to see. Hype, 10 out of 10. We're already gonna play it.
I just don't. I haven't had a lot of faith in Call of
Okay,
Duty.
you know how you are with
releases.
anime?
Yes.
This is how I am with Godzilla.
Okay, well, we'll play it. We'll definitely play it.
It's so exciting too because the most recent movie Godzilla versus Kong, there were a lot of good like teasers and hints of like the way that they're expanding the MonsterVerse because it started out with a new introduction of a monster in 2014, which is always a very very delicate thing, right? So it's
So
either
King Kong and Godzilla are in the same universe?
yeah, they've always been in the same universe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know
Godzilla versus Kong, the first one was in like the 60s.
So
60s to 70s,
is
something like that.
Pacific Rim in the same universe as Godzilla?
No, Pacific Rim is completely
Separate?
different.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's a kaiju movie.
Yeah, it's a kaiju
I
movie.
liked. Did you like
Pacific Rim was
Pacific?
sick. Yeah, I thought it
It
was
was
sick.
Guillermo del Toro, right?
Yeah, the first one.
so,
The
yeah.
second one,
didn't see
he
the
got
second
busy.
one.
he was directing The Shape of Water for the second one, so he kind of handed it off to a different director.
Yeah, so just to keep on rolling with this Godzilla hype train, because I'm hyped about it. So the first movie was a very good human story and Godzilla story.
2014.
2014.
Okay.
Yes.
So Godzilla King of the Monsters, when he's fighting King Ghidorah, we're getting a little Fast and Furious crazy.
This is the second one.
This is the second one.
Okay.
So it's starting to get to that point where it's like, okay, there's some wild shit that's happening, but I guess it's Godzilla, so that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And now with King Kong, it's just like, okay, well, I guess we're like the most recent Fast and Furious, where they're just
Yeah.
doing all kinds of ridiculous
They're
shit.
just fighting. They're just
yeah,
duking
they're,
it
they're
out.
just it's just
Okay, so there was Godzilla in 2014, and then there was
2017 King of the Monsters.
Kong's Skull Island in 2017.
Yeah, so Kong Skull Island was another
Oh,
good
yeah.
movie.
And then Godzilla King of Monsters was 2019.
Oh, 2019. Okay.
And then Godzilla versus Kong was 2021 was last
Yeah.
year.
So the way that they have it, King Kong is the king of, I think it's Middle Earth. It's something weird.
Is there's an Earth under the Earth?
It's the center of the Earth.
Oh, gotcha.
So there's like a whole environment and ecosystem in the middle of the Earth.
Oh, so kind of like the
somehow.
journey to the center of the Earth, where they go down the hole and there's a whole world down there inside.
That's why I'm saying it's starting to get a little okay. But the good thing is that's exactly how it was with the movies in the 50s and the 60s. There's just wild shit everywhere. So that's why I'm kind of hoping with the more recent movie that they do, it would be great if they could go back to telling a really great human story. But if it's just like monsters fighting, I'm not going to complain about it.
Yeah, it's just fun to watch, you know.
And plus, I can have Godzilla.
Hollow
in
Earth?
Hollow Earth. That's what it's called. It's pretty. I mean, I didn't like it, but I'm just like, you know what? It's Godzilla. I don't give a fuck.
Aren't there like dinosaurs and shit down there? Like, so Kong's already used to
What?
fighting like dinosaur-esque type enemies.
Yeah, so Kong is the apex predator of Hollow Earth, and then Godzilla is the apex predator of the surface Earth.
God.
So that's why whenever there's like a big monster, it's like Godzilla's natural instinct is to go kill it.
because
Okay.
he's the strongest.
Yeah. But regardless, Call of Duty, Godzilla, I'm hyped about it. I don't know what the fuck they're gonna do, but I'm on board.
Sure. I'm on board for it too.
So is there something that's like preceding this? Is there another movie that was announced that they're like doing as a promotional content? Because I know you mentioned to us, and you also just mentioned it now. They had something with Magic the Gathering, right? With Wizards of the Coast.
So I think that they're just doing a better, like Toho is. Why is it like an Eastern thing where it's like they're so protective of their IP and they don't want a lot of other folks using it?
I think it's a Western thing that like licensing is more popular than where.
Yeah, because in Western you see crossovers like.
Well, I
fucking
mean,
everywhere.
look. We always talk about it here. Look at Nintendo, how protective they are over anything that they do that has their name on it.
But their
you know?
crossovers are sick. Mario vs. Rabbids with Ubisoft, that's just a great game. You would never think that would be the crossover, but it's great. It's just, I guess it's an Eastern thing to be very protective of your IP.
Probably.
Yeah, it's like I guess there needs to be a happy medium where like a lot of Western companies will just license out their property and not give a fuck.
Yeah.
Where in the East it tends to be like very very protective of not letting anyone touch it. No one could play the game. No one could stream the game. No one could play the
It's like
music
that
in the
YouTuber
background.
with the small business
Yeah,
dude.
freaking
where-
Toei people are mad. People were mad at Toei. Guess what? Their asses just got hacked, and I feel like it definitely had something to do with the fact that they just copyright struck.
I mean, that had happened a little bit ago, but yeah.
Well, I think that there was like that big copyright strike across like multiple platforms, multiple creators.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
In
I see what you're
December,
saying. Yeah.
and
okay.
like there was all this negative energy towards Toei because they had just they had just thrown a bunch of stones in people's glass houses.
And now we're not going to get the freaking new Dragon Ball.
And they
movie.
got
Is that why Super is
Yeah.
indefinitely?
someone leaked like parts of the movie and like they don't know how much they
They
got.
haven't
but
released a
hacked.
lot of information, but supposedly, I guess the rumor or like what's going on is, I guess the server that everything was on was hacked, and like they don't have like some of the material anymore, or it's under ransom or something. I don't know. They've been very tight-lipped about it because.
Well, I guess that's why they're protective of their IP.
Well, they were the ones that threw the first stone,
Yeah, they
bro.
kinda- yeah.
They pissed off a bunch of people. All these YouTube creators have global outreach, and like when you do something that intense, that like
Again, if your community is passionate about it, that's just good for the product.
bro. Yeah, and the people who watch these people are like they're nerdy people who are very tech inclined. Like they're older, so it's like they have the faculties to be able to do stuff like this. So
Yeah. But anyway, so to answer your question directly, I don't think there's any like precursor to it. There hasn't been like another movie announced. I do know that all the Godzilla movies that have been made recently, like that legendary, I think it's legendary.
Yeah, legendary.
So
yeah.
that universe, it's profitable as fuck. But those things take a long fucking time to make, right? Because
Absolutely.
probably like 80% of the movie is CGI, especially the more recent one. Kong and Godzilla, it was fucking CGI everywhere, as opposed to like the
It
first
pays
one.
to be a 3D modeler.
It does. But so I just think that Toho is they're starting to see like, okay, it's all right if we let like Western media handle our shit because the movies are good. Magic the Gathering is another really, really good one that they had a crossover. Magic the Gathering just had Street Fighter as a crossover.
Really?
I
That sounds
will
cool as
say
fuck.
I absolutely love what Magic the Gathering is doing with that
Yeah,
art.
Wizards of the Coast.
Yes. So
Really,
what
really
what
good.
they're doing is, if you guys don't know, there's this card game called Magic the Gathering. It's been very popular over the last 20, 25
20
years.
years. Yeah. long time.
And they've been having artist and like property collaborations where there are certain cards that are very common and always used in most sets, right? So instead of, the same card being just like getting a slightly different like version of the art, they will commission different artists and different like IPs to do like their rendition of the art. So I know that there was this one Eastern, like a Japanese artist that did all this like cyberpunk, Tokyo punk.
Yeah, that was the most recent set that they just did.
And that looked fucking great. Like
Yeah.
I wanted to buy it, and I don't even play. I play Magic, but I don't actively
He only
play it
plays
now.
dinosaurs.
Oh my! I do only play dinosaurs. I go small brain mode.
Big monster do damage.
Big monster do damage is good. But I love it, and again, it's great for promotion. Like those cards have value. Actually, I think that the first crossover in that capacity was Godzilla.
I don't think a big crossover, maybe, but they've done crossovers before.
Because that was for the release of the first movie, right? When all those cards came out.
No, so that would have been 2019.
19?
No, it's 2020 because it was right during the pandemic. Because I remember being work from home. It might have been May.
Didn't they have one with Dungeons and Dragons too?
That was after. So
was
but that's
recent.
still Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
still stuff that they own.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Wizards of the Coast owns D&D and Magic the Gathering.
Oh, I thought they just like had the licensing to produce content for it. I
No,
didn't know they
it's
actually, like, created
it's under the same publisher.
Oh.
Yeah, if you look at all the books, they have the little
Ignore me,
Wizards of the
man.
Coast thing.
Apologies.
Yeah, but I just think it's a good move for all these Eastern studios that have really, really powerful IPs, especially for advertising them out here. I think that Western publishers and just content producers in whatever capacity, they're just showing that, yeah, we know how to handle your IP. Let us do it. It's been successful with the movies. It's successful with Magic the Gathering, card games. So if they're saying like, yo, Activision, let's do something for Call of Duty, I think it's going to be sick. Because they just did like an Attack on Titan one.
I see what you're getting at. Yeah. So the fact that like a protective Eastern entity is going to be overseeing the production of this inherently implies that the quality is going to be a little higher because they're a little more protective of what has their name on it.
I wonder if it's more. I wonder if it's like more like, oh, like let's let them do it because they know how to do it, or if it's because they want a Western company to do it to tap into the Western market. You know what I'm saying? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I think so. But I also think that Godzilla already has a fairly good footprint in
Oh no,
Western
yeah, absolutely.
media.
But I'm saying like Legendary Pictures is a very, very, very popular, studio in the West, in the United States, So like if you were to have like Godzilla come out by Toho Studios and it was in the East and then they imported it over, whatever, say you got localization, whatever, I feel like it's going to have a much different impact if Legendary Pictures picked it up and like produced their own thing for
yeah.
it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
because they recently released an anime for Godzilla.
really?
It was very highly rated too. I haven't seen it just because it was only in Japan. But as far as I know, they're just being a lot more cool about letting other pieces of media, get trickled into the West. So it's
great
a good
news
move
for you.
It's good. It's great news for everyone because I feel like how popular is anime out here, So I just think it makes more sense. Like, what's his fuck? The guy in Fortnite.
What's this fuck?
Naruto.
Oh, heard.
Yeah, like they put his ass in.
They did. He was the first anime collab.
Goku's next. Goku or Luffy is next.
I don't think so. Toei. That's all Toei. Naruto's not owned by Toei.
Bro, if they put Yusuke in fucking
Yo.
Fortnite, that would be hype.
I wonder.
I
who
just want to
owns it.
spirit gun somebody from across the map, bro.
How high would that be?
Or if I could have like Kuwabara Spirit Sword as like a
Genkai.
yeah. Oh my gosh.
You have untapped potential, Urameshi.
You're meshy.
That's hype though. I'm
Yo, I have a pretty
I'm
solid
excited to
Taguro
see-
impression.
I'm
You look
excited
like
to see
Taguro.
how
All
I
upper
would-
body?
yeah, every day is upper body day.
Dude, I just need to get the sides of my head are already buzzed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You should be Toguro.
I just need the
for-
fucking shades. You just walk around.
Just come shirtless one day to an episode and wear the shades and just
talk like him the entire time.
so life updates, guys.
Things are good. I'm buff.
But anyways, I'm hyped for it. Call of Duty. I'm really glad
That
you guys
sounds
doing shit with
interesting.
Godzilla.
I mean, I have Vanguard. I haven't played Vanguard in a minute just because it's been on. But I know like a lot of the times that whenever they have things, it's between their two games, Warzone and whatever is current, which would be Vanguard. So hopefully,
You know
we'll
what's
see.
even more hype?
What?
Fortnite and Coachella.
Oh yeah, this is
shit-
also news.
That is so exciting to me.
So I wonder how they're gonna do it though. Are they
It's
gonna
just like any other in-game concert.
I think they're just. Is it actual in-game concert? Or,
what else could it be?
I don't. Well, I don't. From what the
What, are
article
we
that
gonna
you
get a
showed
Hans
me,
Zimmer skin?
Well, is it just gonna be like a certain set, like one set that you can walk in
No,
for?
they're probably gonna have a live stream in. They're probably gonna have a live stream in game somehow, and that's how you can watch it. Because I remember when I was working in UE4 a lot. By the way, UE5 just came out. Great job, Unreal.
You know, the new Witcher game is actually going to be in Unreal 5.
I heard that.
You know,
Hopefully
it's not gonna
Fortnite is
be on-
actually in UE5 right now.
It's not going to be in. Oh, really?
They made the swap for the hop of the new chapters. Right now in chapter 3, at the beginning of January, it's UE5.
yeah, hopefully they don't fuck up Witcher like they did Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk,
So
yeah.
we'll see. But anyways, Fortnite and Coachella. I don't know what that entails. If I can see Hans Zimmer in Fortnite, that would be fucking hype. I didn't even look at the lineup for Coachella, so I don't know. Because my Peabody brain, I'm just thinking no dubstep artist. No trap artist.
I haven't seen the lineup either, but I know Danny Elfman, who composes a lot of the music for like Tim Burton movies and stuff. He has a set, so I don't know what's going on there.
No, that's typical Coachella though. Like I've seen,
have a lot of different things there.
I'm pretty sure one year Skrillex headlined it. I could be wrong though, but I know another year Hans Zimmer headlined it. That would be pretty hype.
Oh, bro.
Yeah, people definitely want to go see that.
He had like an actual like orchestra come out and stuff.
Yeah,
That would've been hype.
That would have been really exciting. But I have no idea what that looks like. I just know that
We'll have to look more into that as more. When is Coachella, anyways? Let me see.
it's during the summer, I think,
It is.
because we're starting to get into the summer of Smash Bros. Genesis is this weekend, by the way.
Yo,
Hence the shirt. Hence
let's
the Melee
go.
shirt. Melee.
Oh, Coachella is actually tomorrow.
oh,
Really?
It starts tomorrow and it ends on the 24th on Sunday.
All right, everyone, get your Fortnite updated.
all right.
Oh, so
I'm excited.
this weekend and next weekend.
Yeah, there's usually 2 weekends for it. That's right.
That's crazy.
Interesting.
Wow, Coachella's gotten so big.
The
Yeah.
Verge. Coachella's coming to Fortnite. We'll do more some research on it and talk about the next
Look,
episode.
all this means
See.
is video games are getting more and more powerful.
This is true.
They're just.
I
getting
mean,
so much more powerful.
Fortnite is really the only one that's been able to pull all of these like crazy. Like, you would never think like
Ariana Grande's in there. Travis Scott, Marshmallow.
Yo, when is
LeBron
Skrillex gonna get a
James.
skin in Fortnite? That's what I want.
Is he still putting out music? He's still doing
Yeah,
his thing?
he's still doing shit. He did the shit for Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
he's
true.
playing.
New Kingdom Hearts
Kingdom
game
Hearts 4
coming out.
coming
Yeah.
out.
Ooh, that was another big one. I don't like Kingdom Hearts, but I'm glad that they got rid
Pretty
of his.
Tetsuya Nomura was straight up like, "You motherfuckers never let me make 13 verses. I'm gonna fucking do it."
Yeah.
They got rid of his clown shoes. That's exciting. What's
No,
his main character's name?
apparently it's because in the I forget what it's called, the other verse or something like that. Basically, the quadratum, that's what it's called. It's supposed to be different, stylized. That's why he doesn't have like clown shoes in there.
Good. They look stupid.
So basically, I think
Sora, right?
I think they're Sora. I think they're moving away more from the Disney-esque, and it's just kind of being more like
Isn't that the whole appeal?
So this is
yes and no.
super interesting conversation here, and I touched on this
We
in the
could go all about
Borderlands
this.
We
episode.
talked about it not too long ago, right?
So realism, the push for every game to push visual fidelity is great, but the thing is, so much of games that were originated stylized, a lot of the charm from that game comes from the fact that it had a very specific style and presentation. And Kingdom Hearts is drifting farther and farther away from that into Final Fantasy territory. And that's not bad inherently.
We could have an entire like episode on specifically that. But the thing to know that is that like Tetsuya Nomura, like basically the main head honcho that is the one that's in charge of a lot of the Square titles. He basically has crazy visions for always of the way that he does things, and a lot of the time Square would be like, "No, we're not going to do this. You're going to do this." So he's slowly. They're starting to give him more stylistic like control over what he's supposed to do, and I think that because finally since this saga in I think the Xehanort saga, I think it is in Kingdom Hearts, it's ending. Now they're going towards like a different thing. That's why they're in the quadratum. That it looks just like Shibuya and stuff like that. If you've seen it. It's very, again, we can go totally into that's a whole nother episode. We'll obviously find more information.
So
on
like
that as time goes on,
the
but-
saga in which like the trilogy, or not the trilogy, but the previous saga of Kingdom Hearts is over, and this is the beginning of a new saga.
A new one, yeah.
So that's why I guess they're giving him a little more creative reign to kind of like get something
Oh, so
refresh
this-
the IP.
There's a whole like deep story behind it, because like there was if the final like secret cutscene for it is like literally like pretty much word for word, shot for shot, what the original trailer was for 13 verses, and that was what, like 10 years ago by
Yes,
now.
yeah, for
13,
sure.
14, almost 15 years ago by now, or something like that. So it's, again, we'll kind of get into that. I know we have other things we want to get into. There's always cool gaming news that come out, so we just wanted to touch on
Sonic
those
2 did
things,
really well,
but-
by the way. 73
movie.
million or something.
for
Can we spoil the very ending post credit scene?
Spoiler,
I don't know. I
spoiler,
didn't even see the
spoiler.
first
This is a
one.
spoiler.
Okay.
If you don't
Yeah.
want to.
spoiler,
Sonic?
spoiler. Shadow's in it. It's pretty fucking hype.
Oh, okay.
I know. I saw Knuckles and I was like,
That makes sense because I think Jim Carrey went on the record and said that this would be his last movie
Yeah.
as
Yeah,
Eggman.
so I think that means that Shadow's going to be the main antagonist
bad
for the
guy.
next
Yeah,
one.
probably.
But dude, Jim, I haven't seen the movies, but from what I've seen of like clips, he's a fantastic Eggman.
oh, he plays it perfectly.
for
yeah.
sure.
super, super well.
I mean, you think of what was the villain he played in Batman Forever? The Riddler. back
Yeah,
then?
yeah.
He
Oh,
played
yeah,
a,
yeah,
He
yeah.
played a great Riddler. I fucking loved him in that. So.
yeah, I think he's a somewhat underrated actor, like serious actor.
Oh, for sure.
Just because like he's kind of got typecasted into comedy.
Well, I mean, he had some more serious roles in like Bruce Almighty, and also
That was a comedy.
That was a comedy for
Oh,
sure.
you're sure. What was the one where like he was like his life was being recorded, and it was like everyone was in on it except for him, so he thought that. You guys know what I'm talking about? It was in
Is
the
it the
90s?
one where he plows Ewan McGregor?
No.
You know that movie?
No.
It's a rough movie, dude.
God.
It's hilarious though.
Oh man, I can't believe it's such a common, like it's a very popular name, but it came out.
Truman Show.
Truman Show. Yes. Yeah.
Yo, shout out Harry.
Shout out Harry, my man. And also Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. That's not a comedy. That's very much like a romantic drama.
I haven't seen that movie.
Come on, guys.
So to be fair though,
The Mask, Ace
Growing up-
Ventura.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
when he was on In Living Color, I don't know if
Yeah.
you've ever seen that show
Oh,
back in like the
fantastic
90s.
show.
Like,
Fantastic.
I'm
The
pretty sure it was
Wayans
like an
Bros.
all black show, and like he was the
Wayans Bros.
Wayne, he was the one.
That's where
white
Jennifer
guy.
Lopez got her start. She was a dancer for that.
Oh really?
Yep.
Okay, but yeah, if you don't know about In Living Color, banger show.
Fantastic show.
But I just know him for all of his comedy stuff. I loved The Mask as a kid. The dog was a Jack Russell. I have a Jack Russell. Bruce Almighty,
yeah.
another fantastic movie. And then
he kind of had an awakening as an actor. Like he kind of got a little woke in there.
Yes Man's a really good one.
Fun with Dick and Jane.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
That was
Fan
another
too.
banger movie. And then the one with him and Ewan McGregor, where he's like with his wife, but then he's actually like secretly living like this super gay life.
Oh, yes.
And like his life kind of like falls apart, and he's like a con man and
I
all this
missed
other
this
shit.
one. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't hear about this.
It's
one.
a very, very.
That's why when you said plowing Ewan McGregor, I was like, wait
No,
a
dude,
second,
like
what?
it's like think Brokeback Mountain, but comedy.
Oh,
Interesting.
okay.
It was intense. Plus, like I love Ewan McGregor too. Obi-Wan Kenobi is going to be coming out pretty soon, so you guys should see that. Very excited for that.
Caligula?
Is that what it is?
I love you, Philip Morris.
I love you, Philip Morris. That's what it is. What are you? 2007.
Close, 2009. Very close.
Damn. I mean,
right.
these are pretty good.
All right, let's get into
Okay,
it.
now we can get into it.
I know we wanted to talk a little bit about industry, like how you can kind of get into it. I know we did also want to talk about NBA.
So
Where do we start with this? Do we want to like start like how each of us got into like our respective things, or like what exactly? We didn't really like think about this.
I'm
going
down to
into it.
just blue sky it.
Yeah,
Blue
I think just like a
Bullshit it.
let's go at this with the approach of like kind of like the conversation we had with your sister the other day, where like she's like, oh, I want to do art for games, but it's like she obviously didn't know even what that entailed from like a job perspective. So, but like take it from the very top. Like there's the 3 pillars of game design.
You don't need to flex your arms at me whenever you.
3 pillars of game design.
Every time he does this, see, like the shirts get tighter and tighter, and he has to flex.
there's the 3 pillars of game design.
I mean, are we talking specifically like game design, or like how? I thought you
So,
said you wanted to do something about.
this stems
you had
from-
a suggestion, correct?
This stemmed from a conversation you had with one of our viewers. right?
Yes.
What did he want?
So he said that shout out Sean Velasquez. He said that his brother wanted to get into game design, right? And he was kind of, I assume that he's kind of like in his undergrad, maybe transferring into like, you know, kind of getting to the end of his AA. This is me assuming, but like I assume this is a young man who's kind of getting through his undergrad degree or maybe approaching the end of high school, and he's like, hey, I want to get into games. What does that even mean? And like I remember having to do a lot of footwork to understand what all the here. I'll tell my story and kind of my journey, and then we can all just round table it, and then we can come together.
Sure.
But when I made the hop to games, it was back in like 2014, right? I was a biology major at the time, and
I thought you were nursing.
I was nursing, and then I went from nursing to biology because I was like, I don't want to deal with people. I just want to do my own thing. But then my professor, who I had a like very close friendship with, he essentially explained to me, he's like, you could totally do this job. I see you doing it, but you have to understand that the way that science works, from like, if you want to do biology not for medicine, you're going to be repeating the same experiment for a company every day for months on months and years, because that's how validity is built up, right? If you reproduce the results once, it doesn't matter. You have to do it over X amount of years.
Right.
And he's like, and that's your job. And then when you're done with that contract, they just trust you with a bigger experiment, and then you just do the same thing again for 5 years. And I'm like, fuck that. But before I'd made the jump, I was spending a lot of time in this one program called Game something. I forgot.
RPG Maker.
No, I was fucking with RPG Maker, but there was another like really rinky dink like free game. Oh god, what game engine that I think it was called Game Studio or Game Maker. Yeah, Game Maker. It was called Game Maker. So I was learning how to code, and I was like making sprites and making like very simple 2D platformers. And Ryan had kind of gotten or was graduating from high school and intending to go to the graduate program. So
Graduating from high school?
Sorry, from college. Sorry, you were ending your bachelor's degree at this time.
Yeah.
And he had a conversation with me, and he was just like, hey man, if you're spending thousands of dollars to go to school for something that you don't have your heart in, you're spending all this time outside of school doing this thing, why don't you just invest in yourself, like go to school, like. And you told me about FIA, the fact that here where we are based, Orlando, one of the best graduate programs for the entire nation for game design exists here. And I was like, man, I had no idea. I'm gonna do it. So this is when I pivoted to game design. I transferred to UCF, and I started the game design program there. And I guess this is like my informal, or I guess formal. This is my informal review of the program there. So I have a specialization in art, so like 3D modeling, texturing, that's tech art. That's the kind of things that I wanted to learn. But the program at UCF, and this is kind of what I was talking about earlier, they teach you about everything, right? They teach you about you're going to take a little bit of design classes. You're going to take some art classes. You're going to take some programming classes. From my understanding, those are the three kind of pillars of positions available.
There's one more.
Production.
Product management.
Product management, yes. So it's product management, design, art, and programming. I originally wanted to be a concept artist, right? So, because like I remember playing games like Monster Hunter and a bunch of other games that had these cool designs for like the monsters and the armor that I was really inspired by. But again, I didn't know this, but if anyone out there who's listening who's really inspired by art and aesthetic, and concept artist seems like a really cool job, that's great, but you have to understand that the concept artist is usually one of the most talented people in the whole studio. This is the person who the designers and the heads of the project are having conversations with, and they are establishing...
It's essentially the foundation, right?
Yes, yeah. So like the concept artist is the one who decides what it looks like, and those concepts are handed off to the 3D modelers, the texture artists.
They're making your imagination, essentially.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you're giving them your ideas,
It's like there's
the
this
blueprint.
blue monster with black spikes, and it does this cool stuff, and they're literally making the environment, and they're just like,
Exactly.
okay, yeah, I gotcha. That's what they do.
So it was never explained to me that, as passionate as I was at the time, like I was dedicating all my time and resources, like getting my drawing skills as tight as possible. Like a whole year went by, and it finally dawned on me that concept art is just not something that I would realistically be able to break into if I wanted to do it
Anytime
for games.
soon.
Yes, yeah, like maybe down the road, who knows? But at that point, I needed to kind of shift what I wanted to do. So as I'm going through the game design program, personally, I landed on 3D modeling because I took the time to learn, like, okay, so if you want to do art for games specifically, what kind of positions are available? So there's 3D modeling as like a prop modeler, a hard surface modeler, a soft surface modeler, and what all that is essentially, you're either the person who, like if we were in a game right now, I always use this analogy, but like, hey, we're gonna need 3 Celsius cups, right? So you're the person that models the little can, and then the texture artist is the person who gives it the wrap and like the actual visible kind of texture properties of the can itself to make it look like the can of Celsius. The environment artist is the one that will take all the kind of props and arrange them so that they look lived in and it looks like a natural environment. And those are all the positions kind of available from like a junior level. Like for art, you could be a texture artist, a 3D modeler, a tech artist, an environment artist, or a character modeler or a character sculptor. And that's a different program. Sculpting is like with 3D modeling, it's usually very geometric. You're using a program like Maya or a program like 3ds Max to like, very technically kind of build things up from like basic shapes. And then sculpting is a lot more artistic. It's a lot more flowy. Usually you're using a drawing pad and you start with like a blob and you're able to manipulate the blob like you're manipulating clay in order to get like more organic shapes. So that's why earlier when I said hard surface modeler, most hard surface modelers work out of like the programs like Maya or 3ds Max, and then like organic modelers use ZBrush, which is a sculpting tool. And so if you wanted to do characters for, say, if someone came to me and they were like, hey, I want to make characters for games. I'm inspired by games like, I don't know, like what inspired me, like Monster Hunter or Mega Man or Marvel vs. Capcom. Like I played the last Marvel vs. Capcom and like I love the look of all the new characters and how tight they look. I want to make characters for games. It's like, okay, well, the skill set you need to develop primarily is like you need to be a phenomenal like artist. Your baseline art skills need to be tighter than average, and then you need to learn ZBrush, because characters are usually done because they're organic. They're done in sculpting because it's a more natural workflow. You can still make characters using the 3D modeling way, and you could make non-organic stuff sculpting, like both is possible with the other program, but it requires a more in-depth knowledge of what you're doing in order to achieve it.
So what exactly was this, like the steps that you took going through the program at UCF? Like, where did you, I'm sure you came in, you were like, okay, I want to learn art, 3D modeling, whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. How is it that you exactly like landed on that? Like what's like the basic steps that you kind of went through from like the very basic level of like just game design, the course, and then going up until like, finishing your degree and then potentially going to like the graduate level?
Well, full disclosure, I did not finish my degree.
I mean, you're very close though. So
yeah, I'm literally like one class away.
Still need to finish it.
No, for sure. But I've gone 99% of the way through the program essentially. And again, this is my opinion. This is based on my experience of the program. It's definitely changed since I went in. I've heard better things, but these are the things that I guess you would want to look out for. So kind of what I said earlier, like UCF considered the game design degree as an art degree, right? So a lot of the prereqs you needed to do in order to get to the upper levels.
Art specifically, like art, or like art like digital media?
So it is a digital media degree, okay, right? But so if you wanted to do coding for games or design for games, right? Well, they lumped everyone together. So as a designer or a coder, you're spending money and resources taking all these art prereqs, which for me was great because I wanted to do art, right? So taking drawing 1, drawing 2, 2D design, 3D design, those are all things that I really liked. I enjoyed. They pushed my skills, but I made friends with designers and programmers that were like, this is a waste of fucking time for me. But if you wanted to have a degree in game design, you had to do it. You had no other choice, right? And this is kind of what this conversation is about, because there are other alternatives that I think are better, like going for computer science, or, like Ryan is a designer and he got a degree in psychology. So like you want to do your research before you make the leap, essentially. But if you're going for a game design program specifically, you want to make sure that it's got everything that you need for your specific requirements. So for me personally, because UCF, it has the degree set up that it's art-based, it worked for me because I was able to, it aligned with my needs and my development. So again, I had to take all those prereqs, which were like all the basic art prereqs, and then you start taking digital media classes, which is just kind of like, it's actually kind of foo-foo. Like the history of digital media, I had to take like a videography class, like a Photoshop class, a graphic design class.
Even though I went for school for audio, I had to learn all that shit too. Like,
and then after like a year or two of that, then it was like I got into game design stuff. So, I had to take object-oriented programming. I had to take C# class. I had to take a game design class, which was kind of just like doing all the Unity tutorials that were available at the time. But the professor, Kenton Howard, did a phenomenal job. Like, he was probably the best game design professor I had there. The only 3D modeling class, honestly, I took were 2. And the second one was an elective. The program only requires you to take 1 semester of 3D modeling, and it was not a person who worked in games. He was an architectural 3D modeler. And it does make a difference, everyone. Like, if you want to make sure that your professors, if you can, were people who at least went to a graduate program for games and understand it in that capacity, or worked in the industry, because as an architectural 3D modeler, we were modeling things like buildings and like ramps, and he was also like really chill, like too chill. Like,
Context is important, though. I mean, why would you want to be with a professor that doesn't actually have like the actual experience in the industry?
yeah. So I remember just being really underwhelmed. And again, this is just my opinion. I just remember being really underwhelmed with once I got to the upper level, the resources available to me and the classes, because I was like, oh, like, I want to be a 3D modeler. Like, I'm finally in a 3D modeling class, right? So how I learned 3D modeling was looking at resources online, looking at websites like Pluralsight, like Skillshare, taking as many intro to 3D modeling courses on these resources and finding them online as possible. And there's a lot of great shit out there for art specifically to learn how to do everything that I've learned how to do. I would say that probably 70 to 80% of my skill set has been learned through like online tutorials that I found, as opposed to my degree. The best art class that I did take was actually someone who, was he in your cohort?
Hez? Yeah, he was in my cohort.
So it was someone who actually went to the graduate program that Ryan attended, and he taught my tech art class, which is about like particle systems and how to get like certain material generation. So a lot of engines like Unreal Engine 4 and 5 now, as well as Unity, have something called a particle system or a material editor, where you can make a texture based on these nodes that you connect in certain ways. And it's very technical. It's a very technical side of art, right? So this is in the realm of tech art. It's people who know how to make graphics shaders, people who know how to make materials, which are just kind of like more in-depth textures, people who understand how to make really, really crazy particle effects. Like, the analogy I always like to use for particle effects is like shooting Ash's arrow. If you play League of Legends, every time you shoot Ash's arrow, there's a 3D modeler who made the arrow. They shoot the arrow and it's got an ice material on it, so as it's rotating in the air, there's a certain amount of reflectivity and dullness that the ice is going to give it. And then there's going to be like a frost that's going to emitting from the arrow in like a triangular shape. So, and maybe like some little like glitters of frost and snow kind of getting out. So understanding how to make that on a technical level, that's kind of where a tech artist would come in, as opposed to, you're not just 3D modeling it, you're not just texturing it, you're actually building the material in Engine, and you're messing with the particle systems in that capacity. And that's like a brief overview of art. But yeah, I kind of hopped all over the place, but like the biggest takeaway is the fact that because I did not have an understanding of like what I was walking into, I did waste a lot of time on the front end, kind of meandering before I finally landed to 3D modeling and was able to kind of get my foot on the ground. But my biggest piece of advice to anyone listening, and if you want to do art, is obviously look at what's around you and what's available to you. But man, you could be a phenomenal artist for games with the resources available online. Do not, just because you can't receive a traditional education in it for art specifically, does not mean that you cannot do it. If you have the drive and the passion, there are more resources now than ever. Like when I was coming up, it was like just Pluralsight and like some shit on Skillshare. But now there are like whole academies. There are people who have been working in the industry for years who have their own websites, who have mentorships. You know, there's so much available. So find a community online to join, like a forum or something like that. And most of those people are really awesome and very nice. Like I've joined a couple and I posted some work, and people always give good critique. And be willing to put yourself out there, and also, yeah, you gain, at least from my perspective, last thing, the program at UCF was not, and this was very common, I heard it from a lot of people, just getting the degree, it's not going to get you the job. It's about what you could show off. It's about your portfolio, right? Mm-hmm. So it's very much, it's not like being an engineer or a lawyer where it's like, I got my engineering degree, so now I get a job at Lockheed Martin. I worked there for 25 years, bing, bang, boom. Like, it's not that simple. Like, you have your degree in game design, that's great, but you need a portfolio and a resume that's going to back it up, at least from an art perspective, right? There were a lot of people who had their heart broken, who like got through the degree, only did their homework, never did any game jams, never did any supplementary work outside, and their portfolio looked really amateur and very scholastic. And, you know, when you have a lot of passionate people working in this industry who put in the extra time, that's your competition. So you're going to look behind the curb if you graduate and all you ever do is the homework. So that's just kind of a little basket of my takeaway from my experiences. But I'll kick it over to Ryan because he's got his own story to tell.
All right, so I'll ask a very simple question. if you want to play in the NBA, what do you do?
Play basketball.
If you want to get in the NFL, what do you do?
Practice football.
If you want to get in the MLB, what do you do?
Practice baseball.
So if you want to make video games, what do you do?
You just go to school and get a degree. No,
You got to play some games. You got to play the
You
game.
make video games. So I have a I don't think it's a controversial opinion, but I think college is bullshit. I'll just put it that way.
Same.
It definitely doesn't hold its weight today.
It's a
as it
boomer
is.
logic thing.
It
That's a
is.
scam.
It is.
You know, you see all this shit about liberal, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to get political, but college is in fact a scam. 100%.
I agree.
Just from my experience, is until I got to the graduate level, complete bullshit.
Yeah.
All of it was bullshit. And, you know, whether it was the tests, you know, the material that I got to study, non-applicable in almost every facet of my life, right? So I understand the reasoning and like the thinking of why we would need to do all that shit. I get it. In practice, though, trash.
Yeah.
Not worth. But the best advice that I would give anyone to get into the game industry is make video games. Because I've probably interviewed, I'd probably say like close to 30 people for entry level positions, mid-tier level positions, and senior level positions. So the first thing that I usually look at, aside from the resume, is also just like what your website looks like. I don't have a website. I don't think that I need to have a website, especially like just as a game designer. I can get a lot more out of you from like a 10-minute conversation. I can tell if you're full of shit or not, or if you've made a lot of video games. So if you're unsure of what you want to do in terms of, you know, what role do I play in video games, just start making them. Unity and Unreal have a phenomenal library of tutorials and, you know, documentation. They have a lot of intro stuff for how to get into scripting and programming. I'm sure pretty much every piece of art software, they have some kind of learning resource that, like Robert just pointed out. It's all out there online, which is the primary reason why I think college is bullshit. Even if you have to buy the course online and it's like $300,
You're still saving a fuck ton of money.
I'd much rather pay that than $33,000 to get a master's degree. But the problem,
Only 33 for a master's? Damn.
well, that's in state. Out of state was like 60. But the other thing is that, well, you know, how to get your foot into the door, right? And that's kind of where the networking people aspect kind of plays into it. So whenever you have those opportunities to like just be around in the community, like UCF has this one called the Game Dev Nights or something like that.
Yeah, that's it.
Game jams, you know, all those kinds of things, hackathons, whatever. That's where you can start to have conversations with people. PAX is another really good one. And it also looks even better if you have published your own game, right? Because there are so many people that, younger people too, that try to take the traditional route, and it's not their fault that they took that route. And they have like this foo-foo ass resume and website. It's because that is what we have been taught as kids. It's like, if you want to get a job, go to
Gotta get a
college.
Gotta
degree.
go to school, get a degree.
Yeah,
Yep.
got to do that. I genuinely hope within the next 30 years that completely changes.
I would
Right.
hope so too. Yeah. If I ever get in a position where I'm interviewing people, like
I do not
personally,
look at education.
Yeah,
I do not.
Just show me how good you are. Show me your skill set. Show me what you worked on.
I'd much rather have someone that has made video games and can talk to me in that capacity, as opposed to someone that finished their foo-foo degree, even if it was in game design, and they struggle to answer questions. Right. I think it's a little bit different for engineering, because that
Yes.
is like an entirely different beast.
Oh yeah, I mean any profession you could have different facets on, but
Right.
it's very transferable to like AV stuff.
So
too,
for
like-
engineering, at least from my take, this a realm that I don't know a lot about, but like there were people who were in the game design program who wanted to be game engineers, but they were like 80% of the way in, and they realized, oh, I fucked up, because your coding classes is only like 2 or 3 coding classes. So it's like, I should have gone into just computer science and like maybe gotten like a minor in digital media. But the fact that they went into game design meant that their skills were now split into like art, design, and programming.
So in my opinion, so I wouldn't say that I'm like a fluent engineer or programmer, but I know how to get shit working, right? So like I'm probably comfortable in C Sharp, Lua, XML, and back in the day, Unreal Script, which was just blueprints. So it's like visual scripting. But in my experience, like when I was learning C, for example, in college, the stuff that I was doing wasn't like completely applicable to what I do in video games, because all the namespaces that you're working with are going to be video game related.
Yeah.
Right. And all of like the classes, granted, a lot of the stuff that I've done is like proprietary stuff at EA, but like I know how to get around there. Like I know what classes, what functions, what methods, and where to find them, and how to structure it. Now, is that the same thing as learning? Like if I learned C# in college for web development, is that the same thing, or app development? I don't particularly know. I just know that my expertise in programming is like very video game-esque, right? It's like learning how to do gameplay mechanics, doing cooldowns, whatever. You know, like when I was making Zero Heroes, that was a lot of physics-based stuff that I was doing with rigid bodies and how to add force to a vehicle and stuff, right? So it's certainly a different way to think too. Like I was definitely at a disadvantage because when I was at FIA, I had never scripted before in my life. And here I am in a scripting class that is for beginners, is what they say, but it's this guy that has his doctorate in it, and he teaches it for a living, and he's teaching it to you at a master degree pace. So he's just throwing all the shit at you, like this is what, you know, a catch, try catch bracket is or whatever, and here's a predicate. You know, here's how you call a function. It's a getter and setter. Dude, this shit is just gonna go right over your head. You have no idea what the fuck they're talking about.
Your first coding class and just seeing how fucking stressed you were, because it was just like,
no, so I wanted to quit.
Yeah, it was
two weeks into FIA when I got into graduate school. The thing that I wanted to do my entire life, and like this really difficult school to get into, I got into it. 2 weeks in, I was just like, fuck this, I'm gonna quit. But somehow it was just like I had a moment where it's like, you know, little Ryan deserves this. Let's just give it a shot. But thankfully I did that. But like it's really as simple as just make video games. That is the best thing that you can do to get yourself in the industry, because not only do you learn all the facets, which is why I think it's good that UCF does that. And the other thing that I'll mention is that it's a lot easier once you get into the industry versus trying to get into it. Because,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Because there are specific professions for specific jobs. It's not like you're just an engineer. You're a tools engineer. So you're only focused on making these tools better. You're a gameplay engineer. You're only focused on gameplay, right? Or like you're a server engineer, whatever. Same thing for game design. It's like, okay, you're a character designer for Apex Legends, which is different than an economy designer for Apex Legends, right? But I only have to focus about the economy. I don't need to worry about the entire game. Actually, that's not true, but you get the thing that I'm trying to say. You become an SME, a subject matter expert, which is something that he brought up earlier. But I just think that if you're doing the repetitions of making a video game, you understand how they're supposed to be made. You understand the role of the engineer, the product manager, the designers, you know, the artists. You all know what role you're supposed to play. And not only that, but you start to learn the language too of how to talk to people. So like the way that I communicate with an engineer about an idea will be very different than with the creative director. Right.
For sure.
Because, you know, you have to think about it logically in terms of like when this happens, or if this happens, or while this happens. You kind of have to like speak as an engineer. But all that stuff is really important. Just make video games. Once you start to make video games, I would say try to hone in on an idea and get one published to Steam or Unity. They have like this web platform. But if you do that, and then you can like maintain it, that is significantly better for you as opposed to having a degree, in my opinion. I'm going to assume a lot of other folks start to feel that way as well, and they're not looking quite as much on your education, just because I don't think college serves the same purpose it did 40 years ago.
Especially for
30,
something
40
like
years
game
ago.
design that's so new. It's such a new market. It's such a new field.
The
And
fact
like,
that you can just go out and just YouTube how to do whatever, and you have
That was the majority of FIA, dude.
hundreds, if not thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of different people having different, you know, forays on how to do specifically that, but it's all essentially the same thing, you know, and
Yeah,
that just goes to show the technology like age that we're in, you know, the information
Yeah, back then they didn't have the internet too. So it's like, how are you going to learn all this shit about scripting?
You know,
well, I
like-
could just YouTube it.
Yeah, like if back then, if I wanted to know something, I could just Google it on my phone, you know, like boom, and I have the information at my fingertips in literal seconds, you know, like they didn't have that, you know, those references back in the day for, I mean, not even just game design, anything.
Yeah, literally anything.
Like you don't have to wait to go to school or to get
No,
a
definitely
traditional
do not.
education. Like right now, tonight, as you're listening to this, if this is what you want, like you know it deep down in your soul, like I want to do this in this capacity. You have every resource for success available out there. You got to put in the work to separate the high tier resources from the low tier ones, and like to carve your own path and set your own curriculum. And you know, sometimes you end up, I don't want to say wasting a little bit of time, but you might get a little distracted, learn something.
I still think you're making forward progress.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
The other thing that I want to mention, making video games is very different than playing video games. So I was having a conversation with my little brother not too long ago when the most recent Resident Evil came out. And he was like, you know, I'd probably like to work in video games. And I was like, oh yeah, well, what would you want to do? He's like, oh, I want to be a writer for video games. I love narrative. I love the lore. I love all that kind of shit. I'm like, okay, let me read some of your stuff. Well, I've never written before. It's very, very difficult to say I want to be a writer for a studio, but I do not like to write.
No, I feel like I had so many people who, and I hate to put it in this capacity, but they said that they loved game art and they were super inspired about it, and they could give me all these super big heartfelt conversations about like what inspired them and what set them on this path. But it's like, oh, show me some of the models you've worked on the side, or like show me some of the games or like styles you're familiar with, and it's like, oh well, I don't have anything like
It's
that.
just very different. Like if you think that you're just going to be able to jump in and start making games, much easier now, especially
For
with
sure.
Unreal, with blueprints,
For
way
sure.
easier. But it's just not as simple as just like, oh, well, I can make Mario.
I want to chime in here just because we have like not too much time. We only have like 30 minutes left. I know we still want to get into NBA.
True.
Just to kind of piggyback on what they're talking about, my background isn't in game design at all. It's strictly audio. But the just to piggyback on what you're saying, how many people nowadays have gotten popular and famous just by having a MacBook and like a mic, and they've made music?
Oh yeah,
And
for
they're
sure.
popular.
That's all-
you know,
that's all
and
they
it's-
need.
And so like one of the biggest things that I always tell people is like, obviously we have a background in music because we were in band together all throughout high school, you know, like so
He was in a metal band.
you were in a metal band. We were like actually like in like band. Like we did marching band, like we actually like were
Wind
that was
ensemble,
that was an
all-state, all that,
everyday
yeah.
thing for us, you know, like, and that was an actual thing. You know, when I graduated high school, I was considering going to school for music performance or even music education. Looking back at it now, it's like that is not at all like
Bullet
what I want.
dodged.
Yeah, you know, like, but just a lot of the times, at least the way that I am with things, it's like I learn things by just kind of, for lack of a better term, getting my hands dirty.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
the
saying?
same. I just do it.
You just dive in. You just got to learn things. I like to learn things from a very basic level. And to me, like you can RTFM, read the fucking manual every single day, but you won't actually have that context until you actually have said thing in front of you, and then you're applying the specific knowledge that you read in the book to the specific thing. You know, that's why all throughout school, it would always be difficult when like you'd have teachers that would just be like, "Oh, okay, so here's a slideshow, and here's your homework, and there you go." And it's like, well, where is the actual context being
I
applied?
fucking
you know, like,
hate that shit.
and I would that was a big thing that I had problems going through school. You know, I have two AAs, and one's in AV production, audio visual. It's just a fancy way of saying, you know, screens and stuff like this right here, you know. And then the other one is sound and music technology, which is just a fancy way of saying like working in studio and stuff. But I was able to do kind of what you were talking about, similar to the jack of all trades, you know, learning location sound, learning, you know, post-production, learning about Foley, you know, like if you're watching a movie, all those things that you're hearing, that's not necessarily just stuff that's being captured live from the camera. You know, there's things that are going, like if you're seeing somebody walking on grass, you know, that's not necessarily them walking on grass. That's somebody has a microphone and is recording like an actual like footsteps on grass, and they do that multiple times. And, you know, once you start to learn how to apply those things, but a lot of the times people don't realize you don't need that formal education to get started into it. That to me is a supplement thing, you know? And going into it, if you on the first day of college go in and we're all day one, we don't know shit about whatever. If I am working on art and I have art that I've already done, if I'm working in game design and I've actually learned how to do these different codings and blueprints and so on and so forth, if I've actually opened up a DAW, a digital audio workstation, and I've learned like how to do different things, you're going to be way ahead of the curve than everybody else that's coming in day one saying, I want to learn from the beginning. You know what I'm saying? So like, it really is just all kind of just getting out there and just doing it, you know, just kind of
Nike. Just do it.
just do it. Yeah. Just put your, tip your foot in the water, get your hands dirty, take that leap of faith in a sense, with lack of trying to sound so like, like extra, but it really is that simple, just really just kind of, if you want to learn something, you need to actually apply yourself and actually be like, okay, I want to learn. And nowadays it's so great. The fact that if I don't know how to do something, whether it's video game related, audio related, art related, anything in general, I can just go on YouTube and look up how to do whatever. And like we said, there's going to be hundreds and hundreds of different people, explaining how to do these certain things. And
I mean, look at us. This is what we're doing right now.
yeah, like this was literally, this podcast started as a whim. It's like, we were like, yeah, we want to do a podcast. And we had an idea and we just said, fuck it. And look at us. Now we're on episode 20. We've been just doing this for almost a year, and sometimes it is easy and simple as that. Now, it's not going to be, the process isn't always going to be as streamlined as you think it's going to be. It's not going to always be, I'm going to learn this and I'm going to catch on. There's going to be concepts you don't understand. There's going to be things that you're good at. There's going to be some things you're not good at, One of the biggest things that every time I have my interview, the questions that I'm always asked is, oh yeah, so like during COVID, everything was kind of shut down, but the AV world didn't. Everything is still evolving. Like, what have you done during that time to learn and to grow in that? And I'm sure that's a question that you probably asked for interviews for that.
I think there's some toxicity in that kind of question too, just because it's like, there's like a little bit of a stigma. It's like, well, if you don't do game design or make video games in your off time, there's like a slight demerit off of you. Which I think is kind of fucking stupid.
I think it's just asking and it's fishing for being able to know that you've applied to those things instead of like you were saying, how if you're just going through school and you're just doing the homework and you're not really learning and trying to truly understand, you're just trying to get that A and get the degree. Well, whenever you go to those interviews and they ask, you're like, oh yeah, well, I got my degree in so-and-so. And it's like, so do all the other candidates that are applying for the same exact
so
position.
what sets you apart?
Exactly. So at least in my experience, specifically for my industry, and it seems like it carries over to a lot of other things. Yes, the formal education is a big part of it because that's kind of like what our country and what we've been raised to do. But I mean, you look at nowadays, blue collar jobs aren't really. I mean, blue collar jobs are the ways to go. Like having
you make bank and
having those trades, having those like those
electricians,
exactly,
fucking plumbers,
mechanics,
welders,
all that stuff. Like that is exactly what you need nowadays. But growing up, we were so ingrained into our brain.
Yeah, don't be the garbage man, but the garbage man makes more money than the teacher.
Exactly, and that is and it's like that sucks to know that. It's like, oh yeah, well, I went to school for all these years to learn how to teach kids so and so, and while that is a difficult job, it's like, it's true. They do get paid.
I do think teachers should be paid tremendously.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Way more money.
Absolutely.
Yes,
but it's just,
100%.
that's the sad
The good
reality.
ones, not the PowerPoint ones.
Yeah.
That's yes. Oh my God.
Like public school, like elementary, high school, those people should probably be paid like
How could you
significantly
expect
more.
them to put in the extra work though if they're getting paid so little? Like,
Well, that's what I'm saying.
The
Like,
incentives aren't there. I
A
understand.
very close friend of mine, Tucker, he's a high school teacher. Phenomenal teacher, loves what he does. And like you can just see that there's just like genuine passion in what he does. He deserves so much better. Like those are the types of people and teachers that I wish. It kind of sucks, but it's like they have to be in a private school to make way more money.
I had one formative professor growing up at Valencia, and you could tell it was such a difference being taught by someone who was able to connect with you and like form an actual relationship with you. And that was one professor of probably the 50 I had in my college.
When you have a professor that actually gives a shit about like where you could tell they're actually passionate about it, that's always rubbed off on me. And I've always tried more in those classes, compared to the other classes where it's like, all right, so this is how you do this. You ever had those math teachers where they just write a problem on the board and they go,
oh my God, Miss Lundmark, 9th grade.
there you go. That's how you do it. And it's like,
talks like this. This is a quadratic equation.
so then the test comes around and then it's like, you're the one that fucked up because you didn't pay attention. It's like,
Fucking
no,
awful
bitch,
teacher.
you didn't, you horrible. You literally just said, this is how you do it. You gave me 100 problems to do for my homework. And why do you think I'm not going to be engaged in that?
Awful fuck. So just so the teacher that I mentioned in 9th grade, I've never failed any class. And I had an F in geometry in 9th grade the entire time. My mom thought I was struggling in math. Literally after that class, going on from 10th to 11th to 12th, straight A's. And I actually went over to analysis of function, which was one of the higher classes in math. It's purely just the teacher, 100% just the teacher. If you have this fucking garbage teacher, and God, I'm going on a rant now. Why the fuck do we have to wake up so early for high school?
I don't know, man. Dude,
I do not want to be up at 7 a.m.
Our
learning
bodies are
geometry.
going through the most rapid development of our entire lives.
I've
and we gotta
always
wake up at
had a
6?
specific stigma on like about homework.
What the fuck?
You don't learn by homework. I'm sorry, you don't. And I think teachers really think that you understand more if you do the homework. Like if you have the
I would
practice.
say small homework is better.
Exactly. Yeah. But when you're in that math class and it's like, okay, do these 2 pages of homework.
66
and
problems tonight, guys.
what am I gonna? I'm
That's
gonna
just
be
repetition. You're not really learning
exactly.
anything.
You know, like I need to learn exactly more like about how it's done rather than just doing it over and over and over
Yeah,
and using
give
a
me the
calculator.
theory.
You know, like
Give me the theory on like why I would like use mx or slope, whatever that equation is, or
Yeah,
Pythagorean theorem.
none of that shit's applicable.
a squared plus b squared
Yeah.
equals c squared or whatever.
I understand like why they need to teach us this, but instead of it just being like, okay, this is it, this is how you do it, here's how you solve the problem.
And
I
then
always
there
got
was-
way more out of why or what
you're
the thought
gonna
process is.
need this in the future, and it's like, yeah, you might. But
Yeah, maybe if I was getting taught in like the 70s and like I'm in your age, but
So just to circle back around, at least to end my point, like whether you want to hit us up if you want to learn about the specific things, whether it's art,
Yes,
whether it's
100%.
specifically game design,
We're always
audio,
plugging our
or,
socials.
audio production, whatever,
Yeah.
like, we're always welcome to just, and even help people out. I mean, just go on there, bro. Like you look or chick, whoever's watching, sorry.
they, them, doesn't matter.
They, them, he, she, it.
Doesn't matter.
Whatever you want to do, like just go take that.
Just
plunge.
do it. Nike.
Yes.
Just take that
I'm always
plunge.
down to share any of my resources, any of the websites that I found for the art styles that I've developed.
But it's not going to come to you. You have to go
Yeah, you have
after
to
it.
get the reps and do
you
it.
have to come ask me, and I will provide anyone who's ever asked me for any help with creative stuff. I love to see that initiative.
I'm going back to FIA too to give a talk.
Oh,
Yeah, it's like because when I was there,
Are
they
you gonna
was,
have a PowerPoint and just be like, yeah, so
Well, yes.
and then here's your homework.
but it's gonna be way more engaging than that because I got a lot out of basically like every Friday they had someone from the industry come in,
Oh, okay.
and that was always really helpful because it's great to like hear the stuff that you're being taught.
Yeah.
But now you have someone that graduated from FIA that is putting all those things into practice, and they're successful at it.
So for those in the Orlando area, Florida Interactive Entertainment Academy, his graduate school, I
Yeah.
think is 100% worth it. If
No,
you go.
yeah. So that one for sure.
Yes.
That's like top. I think it's first place like the past 4 years according to. Look it up. I can't think of. There's like some ranking.
It's a year and a half, and it's just like
year and 4 months.
you eat a year and 4 months, and you just eat, sleep, and shit making games with the same 40 people, 50 people.
What, digital media schools?
No, just look top graduate video game schools. The Princeton Review. It's like this website that always ranks the best schools to go to.
I
And it's like
remember.
highly regarded, and like FIA is consistently top 5. I think recently it's been like top.
So as of
first
May
place.
19, 2020, okay, so 2020, USC was number 1, and guess what was number 2?
FIA.
UCF and FIA.
So the way that they do that ranking too is based off of what job you get and the pay that you have. So obviously with FIA, because there's a lot of folks that used to work at Electronic Arts, it's a pretty streamlined way, but it's not like you just get that job. You need to know your shit too.
Yeah, you gotta be good.
But regardless, if you want to learn how to make video games, make video games.
According to Princeton Review in 2020, UCF is number 1 now.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah,
So
super good
yeah,
school.
if you're here in Orlando, and that also helped me make my decision to switch. So I was like, worst comes to worst, I can just try as hard to get into this program. I was able to bypass that step, which is great, but that's not everybody. And honestly, like if things had gone differently, FIA would still definitely be on my map just because it's the number 1 school in the whole nation. It's right here. I have that opportunity, and you're making great connections with people who are just as passionate. They're going to go on to do great things, and like you have it's like it sets you up in the marketing and connection area as well as the game design skill area.
Yeah.
All right. So we have like 15 minutes left ish. Do we want to talk about some
You need to go pee?
basketball?
No, I can hold it. Let's talk about basketball.
Okay.
Yeah, what do you know about
Yeah.
basketball?
Yo,
Do you want to start us off?
Yo,
What color is the ball?
it's got black lines.
There we
Oh
go.
my God. You don't actually know
Hey.
what color the ball
It's
is?
orange. I know.
Okay,
What the
okay.
fuck?
All right.
Yo, let's
Why'd you open up with, it has black lines?
Yeah, no,
Balls
trying to
of
be funny.
things you
Yeah,
can
so I think it'd be good to talk some basketball stuff. So conveniently, that's actually, at Electronic Arts, I've worked on sports, and basketball is it's actually the main sport that I pretty much know all encompassing about. But it's exciting times because we just finished the regular season. There's some hot topics to go about, but the most important one is obviously that the postseason is coming up.
Whisper.
And whoa. I think it's the Lakers' fault personally. But so we got the postseason coming out. We're in the middle of the play-in tournament. And this is always an interesting topic because
So
as a game
play-in
designer-
tournament first started last year, correct? That was the first year that they had it?
Let's go Timberwolves.
Yes,
Okay.
I think so.
Because they had something similar with like the bubble, but that doesn't really count because
The bubble was weird.
Yeah.
But anyways, the interesting conversation regarding the play-in tournament is that, so as game designers, we're always iterating on the game. But with basketball, it's pretty much just like, don't touch it.
yeah.
Right. So that's why I'm glad Adam Silver, who's the NBA commissioner, he has implemented more ways that people can see that the game is evolving, which is something traditionally when David Stern was a commissioner during during the Jordan era, there wasn't a lot of, let's explore and experiment with different ideas. So I do think that the play-in tournament needs to be refined a little bit because right now it's pretty much just guaranteed 7th through 10th spot is in the play-in tournament. I think it would be fucked if the game's back discrepancy between the 7th and 8th seed
Yeah.
was like small, but like the next closest was like 5 games back.
Bigger, yeah.
That's fucked.
Yeah.
Because all it takes is a dude to get super hot and fuck up your chances completely.
So
So-
just to put it into perspective, so it worked out this year because
It did work out this year.
just talking about the Eastern Conference, the 7th and 8th seed were Cleveland, Brooklyn, Atlanta, and then the Hornets, right?
the Hornets. Yeah.
Cleveland and Brooklyn, they had 44-38. Both Atlanta and the Hornets, they had 43-39. So it worked out there. But like, it would suck if I'm the Cavaliers. I have a 50 and whatever, and
Next closest was like 39 wins or whatever.
that would suck for sure.
That sucks.
Because then it comes down to literally 1 or 2, I guess, at that point, do or die games.
So that's the other thing too. All the playoff series, best of 7. This is a best of 1.
Yeah.
And if you're in the higher
Yeah.
seed, 7th or 8th, it's a best of 2.
So
You have
that,
two chances.
that's actually a big problem with the MLB too. Is you play a 162 game season, and then you have the
Do you need to play that many? I know you've made the
Not-
argument that it's a game of averages, but holy fuck.
yeah,
dude.
no, it definitely you need to have a lot, but not that many. It is a lot, but it's a grind. It's a grind.
So the structure of how the playoffs are being determined is new.
Just the
the
play-ins.
Yeah, it's just the
Play-ins.
play-ins.
Just the
yeah.
play-ins.
So the play-ins is not the playoffs. No.
So okay, so if you
It's
want to,
considered postseason, but it does not contribute to postseason progress. This is to enter the postseason. So the idea behind it is
question: do play-in stats count towards postseason?
No.
They don't. They
no,
count
they
towards
don't.
regular.
They count towards play-in stats.
Oh,
Interesting.
Yeah.
okay.
New stats.
Yeah. So new thing for it, but you also have to think about. So obviously, viewership is a big thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So during the pandemic, the NBA had to cancel the season about 3/4 of the way through because it was March 14th or 15th in 2020, and that pretty much signified
Rudy
to
Gobert.
me. Yeah, that's when everything was like shut down from my life, right? Because it's like as soon as the NBA closed down, that's when I started, and it was like a bunch of the gyms shut down. The places strictly enforced social distancing. You had to wear a mask everywhere. So like that was that point, and like I started to be working from home at that point too. That's when it was just like a very, very hard shut off for everybody. But so you also have to understand that with the NBA, and this is just like with any major sport, they have specific TV contracts. So you lose a fuck ton of money if you're not showing your product.
Yep.
Right. So when they were talking about like how do we get the season started back up, one, I do think LeBron played a huge part in it because the Lakers that year had the best chance to win the championship. Granted, with like injuries and COVID protocols and everything, like that's like its whole other discussion. But they needed to make up that money back, right? So they needed to think of ways to get the viewership back because they had taken such a hard hit during the pandemic that they lost a fuck ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that another trend that they have always had is that by the time like after All-Star break, people do not give a fuck about the regular season. It's really just you're waiting for the playoffs to start, and viewership goes down drastically too. And so that in turn, less revenue. So it's more so about like, well, how do we make, this last branch of games more meaningful? Well, hey, if you're the 10th seed, you got a chance. So those are usually the teams that are like borderline lottery pick, meaning they get a good pick in the draft. But if you have a slight chance of making the playoffs now, more people are going to watch. And I actually think that Minnesota game, I forget which one it was, but
Timberwolves versus Clippers.
yeah, I think that game was the most watched game in TNT this season.
Really?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
Wow.
go.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously a lot of memes like came from it, but there's now another layer of care for people to get invested in.
Absolutely.
Because in the Nets case, it actually worked out pretty well for them too, because they had a pretty turbulent season where they had a losing streak of 10 straight. They had traded away James Harden for Ben Simmons.
Kyrie Irving couldn't play for half the season.
Yeah, because of the vaccine stuff. But obviously, like they were the first in the East too before all that shit like really started to happen. But even then, in their case, it would be beneficial to them because their record is not indicative of how good that team is.
Right.
I still don't think they're a good team, but they're certainly better than the 7th seed.
Right.
But at least in this case, people will watch it now. So there's more reason to care about the regular season at that point when it's the worst part. Certainly, some of the players are kind of against it. Like last year, LeBron was pissed about it. They were in it. Same with Golden State. But overall, I think it's a healthy move for the league.
I agree.
And I'm glad that they're finally open to iterating on the game itself as opposed to just saying like, nope.
I think that's an underrated way to look at
changes.
it too. Like it gives more because then by the end of the season you have people just sitting out. Like
Well, so that's another really bad topic.
Yeah.
So there's probably going to be another NBA lockout coming up.
when's the CBA finish?
So our
Is it
most
this- after
the
this
most
season?
recent CBA finish was signed in 2011.
Wow. So you
Because
guys
we had a
just last for
lockout.
while.
That 11-12 was a lockout year, and that's when the Big Three Heat won the championship. But essentially, what's happening is, so there's 82 games in the season, and in the past few years, like past 10 years, big name players get injured, like a catastrophic injury.
What's the load management? Is that the term?
Yeah, so they say, they're out tonight because of load management.
Right.
But now team doctors are much more bought in with the organization. So it's just like Jimmy Butler has a toe injury that he has to nurse, but it's actually load management.
Yeah.
So the thing is, Adam Silver started fining people because they were purposely sitting out. But if you're a fan and you want to see Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero play basketball, and then it's like they're sitting out because of load management, and you just paid $400 for your ticket, I'd be fucking pissed.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why they're trying to talk about let's do less games. But then that means less revenue, so the players get paid less.
I don't think that's going to solve the problem either. Less games.
I think that it's healthier.
Healthier, yes. I don't think it's
Because-
going to
Well, I
stop the
imagine that
load
the play-in
management. though.
now, like I feel like before the games that the play-ins are now taking over were maybe like a moment of reprieve before the playoffs, which is kind of like depending on how far you go, just kind of like we've got to fucking make it. But
Yeah.
now it's just like if you're going the whole way, well, you're just nonstop going. Like if you're one of the upper teams,
Like, you know how intense it is. If you work out every single day, like
Yeah.
imagine running 3 miles every day.
bro, when we play basketball, we're on each other for like 3 or 4 minutes, and I'm already like.
Yeah, and imagine like these top tier athletes, they're doing it for 40 minutes a night.
Yeah.
Right? And you're playing 4 games in 7 days.
Yeah, and dude, my barber used to cut some of the Magic players' hair, and like, dude, it's a rigorous schedule. You show up super fucking early.
And you're
at
traveling all the time, dude.
Traveling all the time, and like, bro,
Different time zones you're crossing.
it was literally
jet
like
lag, yeah.
shit like getting a haircut, or like, and this is why players pop off. It's because like they don't have a lot of downtime. They don't have. Not everyone's LeBron.
Granted, they do make a lot of money.
They do, but like when the season is on, and especially if your team's good and you're going far in the season, like
absolutely.
it consumes so much of your life. So
I think the play-in tournament makes a lot more sense though for a shorter schedule.
I'm glad that they do it, because not only is it good for that half of the NBA schedule, but it also gives more time for teams to rest that are good to get healthy, because it's an additional week of rest that you don't have to worry about playing, so you can kind of recoup. There is a slight disadvantage for the top seeded teams though, because you do not know who you're playing against. And granted, it is a team that is like the lower seed. So like in the Heat's case, we're the first seed in the East, but we don't know who we're going to play between the Hawks and the Cavs.
it's the first and the eighth.
First day and eighth, yeah.
So do you want to talk about the bracket?
Yeah. So the I want to finish the point super quick.
Go for it.
The 3rd and 6th seed, they know who they're playing against. So you're watching tape on those guys constantly. Same with the 4th and 5th seed. So you know who you're playing against. So you can start to figure out. But the thing is, like, as the first seed, it's sort of at a disadvantage now because you don't have as much time to game plan, right? Like you don't know who you're going to be playing against. But in terms of like how the bracket is set up, the first seed always plays the 8th seed, and then you always after that you play if you're the first seed, you would play the 4th and 5th. So it's advantageous for sure to always have the top seed, because also traditionally in the NBA, the home team always has a better record than their away record. So that's why it's important to have home court advantage.
Home field advantage, yeah.
But overall, I'm just glad that they're starting to do different shit. I think within the next 10 years, the league is going to expand to 4 more teams. So I know that the Supersonics, they're pretty much the ones that are definitely going to come back. So that's really exciting. Seattle's another really good basketball city. They still have Key Arena, and I think the mayor just remodeled it, or they approved a remodel like 2 years ago. Because I think they have the Kraken, the NHL.
Yeah. The MLS.
Who's the
Seattle
NHL
Kraken?
team? Yeah, who's the NHL team?
Oh, I'll look. Do they have an NHL team?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the Seattle Kraken.
Seahawks.
Oh, I thought the Seattle Kraken was the MLS team.
No.
What's the MLS team then? Hold on.
No, so
Continue though.
yeah, so the Seahawks are football.
Oh,
Seattle
yeah.
Sounders. Sorry about that.
So, but it's the Kraken.
It
in
is
the
the
NHL.
Kraken, yes, in the
and
NHL.
I'm pretty sure they play at Key Arena, and they have a WNBA team that plays at Key Arena. So the Supersonics were also like a really popular team in the '90s. Sean Kemp and Gary Payton.
And then they moved to OKC.
Yes, a Russian mob boss bought them.
Oh.
Yeah, or
That's Thunder, right? Oklahoma Thunder.
OKC. Yeah, it's a Thunder. Maybe I think Brooklyn is the one with the Russian mob.
Joe something.
I think Brooklyn is the one with the Russian mob. I just know that some dude bought the Supersonics, brought them to OKC, but
Joe Tsai.
I know there's
Joseph Tsai?
like this rumor that he's with the Russian mob. I'm pretty sure it's with the Nets.
I let it type in. I let it type in Brooklyn Nets owner, and then it says Russian. It like auto populates. Mikhail Prokhorov.
I'm pretty sure it's like one of those Russian.
He's a
mob
former
bosses.
owner of the Nets, apparently.
Okay, but anyways,
Continue.
so within like the next 2 years, I'm pretty sure like Las Vegas is gonna get a team.
Yeah, they actually just got the NHL team.
They just got the Knights, and then this Seattle would get another team, so that's 2. So they would need 2 more on the eastern side. So I think Tampa would get one, and then because that's where the Raptors played for a little bit, and
That's right.
so they know that they have a good market there, and plus that like Miami is a big market team. Orlando should be a better market team, but they're just poorly managed.
3 teams in a single state, though.
California has 4. Texas has 4.
Texas has 4.
San Antonio Spurs, Houston Rockets. Maybe they have 3.
Dallas.
Oh yeah,
Cowboys?
Dallas
Mavericks.
I think they can buy 3.
I think they have 3, but California has 4 because they have the Clippers, Lakers, Golden State, and Kings.
Kings.
Yeah, and so
Okay, I could see.
It's
By
all about
population,
market.
Yeah, fair enough.
it's all about market. But anyways, in terms of like playoff stuff, because I know we don't have too much time left. Let's go Heat.
Yes,
Go Heat.
So let's talk
This
about the
is
bracket. I want to talk
Let's
about the
Go Heat
bracket.
podcast.
Yes. So if
right.
the Heat play, they would play the Hawks or the Cavs. The Cavs
Cavs.
are a big team, but Jared Allen is recently hurt. So I think it'd be pretty tough for them to beat us in 7.
So who do you think is going to win that game versus the Hawks or the Cavs?
I think the Hawks.
You think the
Trae
Hawks?
Young's nasty.
So then Heat versus Hawks. Obviously, the Heat are going to win. But
Yes.
what do you think?
So the really only scary person on the Hawks is Trae Young. But the thing is,
What about like John Collins?
not
and like,
playing.
Isn't Trae Young like
Really?
leading the league in like points? He's leading like,
he's
multiple
total points.
leagues in total
points.
points.
Trae Young's disgusting. I like him a lot too because of that side
Looks
talk
like,
video
Looks like a gremlin, man.
Fuck Trae Young.
with the Spider-Man with the Henny and the Tims.
Trae Young looks like my dad's dick.
I don't know what my dad's dick looks like.
But
So
fuck
funny.
Trae Young.
This shit is so good. But
Oh man.
But yeah, so in that matchup, I think that the Heat probably win 4-1 or 4-0, just because I do want to give the Hawks a lot of credit, though, because they were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year.
Yeah, I don't think anybody expected
But
that.
there were a ton of injuries last year.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, 2nd and 7th seed, that is gonna
Boston
be a
versus Brooklyn.
banger
That's going to be a good
series.
thing. Who do you
Yeah.
think is going to win that?
Wait, what are the teams?
So
Boston
it's
Celtics and-
second and the next one, yeah. at
2nd and
least-
7th. So it's Celtics
Celtics.
2nd, and the Nets are 7th.
and so
okay.
Brooklyn Nets. Who do you think is
The
going to win
Nets?
that?
Oh.
No, definitely the Celtics. So they have the
Celtics.
best defense in the league, and they
Jays.
have 2 of the best offensive players in the league also.
Jalen and Jason,
Yeah, and they have,
Marcus Smart,
you could argue that he's DPOY. I'm going to be biased and say it should be Bam.
Doris Burke, maybe.
But yeah, shout out Doris. Should be Marcus. And
Dante
I like all the players aside from Jaylen Brown on the Celtics. I just, there's other issues that I disagree with him on. But overall, the Celtics should win that series.
All right, so then
I agree.
We got Milwaukee, the 3rd seed, the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Chicago Bulls, the 6th seed.
The Bulls were all hyped this year.
Yo, for real.
They had a fantastic roster setup with Lonzo Ball, Caruso, Zach LaVine, Vooch, a former Magic center.
They also got
Play the
DeMar
song.
DeRozan,
Play the song.
Debo.
Play the song.
I don't have it on here.
But yeah, so it's just one of those things where it's like they have a nice pair of. They have like a nice pair of socks, a nice pair of pants, nice shirt, nice hat, nice watch, but none of it goes together.
Yeah.
They probably need another year because they were like
Didn't they like have a horrible like record against like top teams?
they were like 1-14 against
Yeah,
all the top teams.
Oh, there we
but
go.
yeah, but
Don't look
so
at me. Don't look at me.
they just didn't perform well. They're also hurt a lot. Grayson Allen fucked up Alex Caruso's wrist.
Broke his hand, right?
Yeah, Grayson Allen's a piece of shit player, anyways. He's always been dirty.
He's
yeah.
on the Bucks. You think
yeah.
he's gonna break his arm again? No, I'm kidding. Okay, who do you think's gonna win this? The Bucks.
Yeah, it should be the Bucks. It's really hard to argue against. It's really hard to argue against Giannis because you could probably say he's the best player in the league right now.
And he has like major MVP candidates right now, right?
It's gonna be
Or-
Jokic,
or
though.
it's- Yeah?
Yeah,
Yo-
yeah.
That'll be 2 years in a row, right?
Yeah.
All right, and then we got 4th versus 5th. It's Philly 76ers versus the Raptors.
Ladies and gentlemen,
That's a tough one because
I think it all depends on Harden
your starting
Yes.
lineup.
if he shows up.
yeah. Yes, but the other scary thing about that is so
Matisse.
Well, I'm going to get to that. Toronto has drafted very well in like the past 2 or 3 years. They got this dude named Scotty Barnes, phenomenal player. He's probably going to be like one of the stars within like the next 4 or 5 years in the league. But they also have a lot of their original players from that championship run in 2019 with Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam. They still have Nick Nurse as their coach. He's a really solid coach.
Nicky Nurse.
But dude, like, do you want to touch on like this Matisse Thybulle shit? Because I genuinely don't understand what the logic would be.
Long and short of it, Toronto has vaccination requirements. If you're not fully vaccinated, you can't play. Matisse
Yeah.
Thybulle is he a rookie?
He was a rookie in the bubble.
Okay,
So he's like a third-year player.
Still a young player. He got one shot at the vaccine, decided not to get the second one, doubled down on it by saying, "Oh, I was raised in a holistic environment, so on and so forth." At this point now, it's like this whole vaccine thing has become much more than it really has needed to be.
Yeah.
I think at this point, if you're being paid millions of dollars, you're in the playoffs, and you are a key role player in your team, it is so. What's the word I'm looking
Stupid?
for? Stupid, but like you're
Selfish?
you're a lot selfish. You're a liability at that point to your team because
Yeah.
just get the second freaking shot at that point. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or even he could have gotten the Johnson & Johnson, which was one
Especially
shot,
because
so
Joel Embiid is, you could argue that he had an MVP tier season.
he's the leading scorer, right? This season he got the
Yeah,
scoring
he was
title.
scoring title. Yeah, for sure. And it's just
So-
like, it's going to be another year where Joel Embiid gets fucked over.
I'm gonna put something on the mic.
What is it? Is that the Kawhi Leonard laugh?
Yeah, shout out Kawhi.
It always gets me.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know about that series. On paper, the Sixers should win.
On paper.
But Toronto's also like a really good fucking team.
How important is Matisse to the Celtic or to the
I
76ers?
think that he helps round out their defense because he's sort of like a I don't know if you would say that he's a 3-and-D type player, but he can certainly lock down anyone on the perimeter. So that'd be like a guard or a forward. I don't think he's big enough to like stop someone like Jokic or Giannis, but he's more of like a Marcus Smart, just like a smidge bit weaker Marcus Smart. But it's a very, very big blow to their defense for sure. Offensively, you're not going to stop Joel. I don't know what's going to happen with Harden because there's talk that he might still be injured, but he says he's at 100%. But
load management.
yeah, I mean, yeah. But
Where's
Playoffs.
Kawhi Leonard at now?
he plays for the
Clippers.
Clippers, but he tore his ACL last year, so he hasn't played at all.
Oh, so he wasn't even in the game against the Timberwolves?
No.
Oh, whoops.
That's why it's not that big of a win. We'll get
Oh,
to that though.
heard.
Well, let's go to the Western Conference because we're
Yes.
getting a little tight on time. So Phoenix is the number 1 seed. They have the best record in the NBA, 64-18.
Yeah, they're gonna mark whoever's the next winner.
So that would be either the Pelicans or the Clippers.
Completely marked. If Kawhi was playing,
Maybe.
I think the Clippers would actually win because they have a very good team.
Is there any chance Kawhi comes back for the playoffs? at all?
Absolutely not.
None?
Do not risk it. No way. No way. Next season.
All right. So then we got the 2nd seed. We got Memphis versus the 7th seed, which would be the Timberwolves.
So
I feel like
The
this is a good
Timberwolves
matchup.
are similar to
They won the
that-
finals, bro.
They're similar to the team that went really deep this year in March Madness. I can't.
St. Peter's?
St. Peter's. They're basically St. Peter's. They have like a lot of good talent, but Cat is a giant pussy. It was pretty much shown in that game where he fouled out with like 6 or so minutes left in the quarter, and he
Didn't it was like by the
He had
first
4
half,
fouls and
he
2
had-
points.
Yeah.
trash. But they've also drafted really well. So they have Anthony Edwards, they have Cat. They also have Cat's best friend D'Angelo Russell. But
D'Lo popped off in that game, didn't you?
he did, but it's mostly Anthony Edwards, and obviously Patrick Beverly. He is
Had that trick, y'all, man.
he is an all hype type of player, but like if he gets like just a smidge bit riled up,
He's dirty as fuck, right?
no, he's not dirty. He's more in the tier of like Draymond Green.
Oh, okay.
He's
Very emotional.
he's way more emotional than Draymond Green, because Draymond Green also has like some of the highest IQ in the NBA. It's all emotion for Patrick Beverly, which is a good thing.
So speaking of Draymond, let's move on to the next one. This is going to be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Golden State versus the Nuggets.
It should be Golden State because they should be fully healthy. Steph is planning to play by game 1.
Okay.
But they don't have Michael Porter Jr. They don't have Jamal Murray on the Nuggets side, which are like probably their second and third
Jamal
best
Murray's
player.
still out?
Yeah, dude, those are serious injuries, and he's
I know.
young.
I thought he.
don't rush it.
Yeah, for sure. I thought he was going to be back for the playoffs. So
No. No player that has been consistently hurt all season is gonna come back for the playoffs. It's stupid to do, because not only are you not in shape, you're not in basketball condition, and these are the most intense games.
He tore his ACL as well, right?
Yeah, he tore his ACL. Yeah, and then I forgot what Michael Porter Jr. did, but then again, Jokic is the MVP, and he's nasty enough to get you to the 6th seed in a very, very, very tough Western Conference. So I think that the Warriors win 4-1, 4-2.
All right. And then last but not least, we got the Dallas Mavericks versus the Utah Jazz. Do you think the Jazz are going to make it? I feel like they
So
always
Luka's not
come-
playing game 1.
I mean, there's still other games though, right? Well,
Well, yeah, but who else is on the Mavericks that's
true.
going to carry the offense for them? Because
true.
literally everything goes through Luka
Luka, yeah.
in the Mavericks. And at least with the Jazz, Quinn Snyder's a great coach. Though it's weird that they're still having like the same issues where they'll have like a good lead going into the 4th quarter, but they just can't close it out. There's a lot of tension between like the team chemistry right now and where Donovan Mitchell's head is at.
What's with that whole like Donovan Mitchell doesn't pass to Rudy Gobert or some shit like
He
that?
doesn't. So from what I've read from like just rumors, it kind of just seems like he wants to be in a big market, because Utah is not.
Right.
So obviously when you're in a big market, like if you're playing for the Knicks or for the Lakers or something, there's a lot more opportunities to be in like movies and commercials and like all the other glamour
They
shit.
live like the hot boy life.
Yeah, but the Tyler Hero life, so to speak.
You bro.
Right.
He's in a Jack Harlow song, you know?
It's called Tyler Hero.
There it is.
You're only getting that if you play in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, so another big hit that the Utah Jazz had was Joe Ingles actually ended up tearing his ACL halfway through the season.
and they traded him, right?
away.
Yeah.
He was sort of like the heart and soul of that team.
remember
And I know
that.
that they weren't a fan of it, but they still have Mike Conley, who's another really good vet point guard, similar to Chris Paul. They're probably similar in
They still
skill
have
set,
Clarkson,
but
right? They still have Clarkson.
Jordan Clarkson, yeah, he's still on the team. So he's like a really good, he's probably like second or third sixth man this year. And obviously Donovan Mitchell is going to do his thing. But I just think that if this season goes poorly for them, then a huge shakeup is probably going to end up happening. So probably like a Jimmy Butler for Donovan Mitchell type thing, maybe. Because like if the Heat get bounced in the first round, there's probably going to be like a major shakeup too.
Really?
Yeah. Or like a sign and trade for Tyler Hero for Donovan Mitchell, something like that. You heard it here first. But so for that series, though, the Mavericks also haven't been out of the first round since 2011 when they won the championship. And Luka's hurt for game 1 because he had a calf strain. And he didn't need to be playing that game.
It'll be interesting. I think this is going to be a good.
I
good
think
playoffs.
Utah wins in 7.
I think it's going to be a good playoffs. Who do you have winning the entire thing?
Miami.
Let's go Heat. Let's go Heat.
Barring
I had to
injury,
ask.
I think the Heat.
You think the Heat for real?
Yes, I think the Heat because we're completely healthy. We have every role filled out for the team. We
Tyler's
have,
winning 6th man of the year.
easily.
I saw like He apparently is going to win Sixth Man of the Year probably, but he also has like the most minutes played in the team.
Is that like the Heisman of the NBA?
No. So
It's the best like bench player.
that's a
from the
stupid
bench.
thing that you read on our NBA because Lou Williams, who is like the perennial sixth man, he plays more minutes than Tyler Hero. Every time that he's
really?
won, yeah, he plays more minutes. So it's our NBA just hates Tyler Hero.
They just hate every time
It's
I go
all
on,
nephews.
every time the Heat lose, they're always like Heat culture. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's like when we had that 0-4 stretch, but then we win like 6 straight. No one talked about
one
us.
talks it.
Yeah, no one talks about us. But that's okay. That's Heat culture.
Heat culture.
But yeah, that's pretty much like the playoff preview. I don't think there's anything else that we needed to discuss. So.
Hey, with some solid takes there. Solid takes.
Super solid takes.
Heat and 4.
It's gonna Heat and 4? The entire thing?
Yeah.
They're just gonna win the
16 and
entire playoffs in
4
4
games.
games.
They
Okay.
can do it. If any team could do it, it's the Heat.
All right, guys. So that's gonna be it for us. Next week's stream. Do we know what we're doing?
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure
let
it
you know.
out. Yeah.
As always, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Twitch, YouTube, we always got to say it.
Something spicy's coming up tomorrow too.
Check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. You know the deal. If you want to hit any of us up on our socials, Lightning Works Official.
Yes.
It's
It's
Bulk Nation and Vega Face with a Y. As always, guys, thanks so much. We'll catch
See you
later.
guys.
Have a good night. You're beautiful. You're beautiful if you listen to this podcast. Never forget.